I'd like to call to order the Old Saybrook zoning commission meeting for Monday, May 4th, 6 o'clock in the town hall conference, first floor conference room, 302 Main Street, Old Saybrook. You all stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A roll call, we have myself, John Henry, is sitting in as chair. Regular commission members Laura Gray and Robin Kelly. And alternate members Brenda Dyson, sitting in for Mark Calderella, and Casey Hand, sitting in for Derek Kennedy. We also have Matt Willis, an attorney, and we have 3, 6, 10 people in the audience. And nobody else online, so.
We have 2 online. We have 2 attendees online.
Okay. Regular business, is there any discussion on the last month, the April 2nd, the April 20th minutes? Anyone have any changes or additions? We'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 20th, 2026. The second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0-0. Old business. Cherry Landing preliminary application discussions. For a proposed text amendment to the marine redevelopment zone. Applicant is Ferry Landing LLC. The agent is Attorney Casella. Mr. Casella.
Okay, good evening. We were here a couple of weeks ago to give you the preliminary overview of the proposed improvements to between the bridges, the North Yard, 142 Ferry Road property. Walker Potts is the owner. He's here this evening, along with Devin Sansa, Greg Nucci, Kelsey Janis, and Mike Ott. Today, we're going to focus the discussion on a draft regulation that we've put together, kind of talk with you all as a commission about some of the concepts we have for the Marine Development District overlay zone that's being proposed, and to discuss some of the challenges on the site and how we would like to try to have them handled from a regulatory perspective. So there's a fairly substantial history with this property. It's been in existence for decades and it has fallen into disrepair. Walker and his family purchased it 4 years ago at this point.
November 22.
Yeah, so 3.5 years ago. And as we talked about before, they're investing money and are looking to kind of do an overhaul of the eastern portion of the property, which is the riverside, where the marina is, the marina buildings, the restaurant, the offices. But the zoning regulations in the property itself provide a lot of challenges. So initially we talked to Chris about, is this something that we just try to go for 8, 10 variances on? Or is there an alternative? And we both agreed it made sense to come to the commission with a proposed zoning regulation that would be an overlay district, an overlay zone onto properties that the commission chooses. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I can go through a few things with you. Give you just a little bit of so if I assume you're all fairly familiar with the property, but the street view of it really gives you a kind of a good idea of what's going on. This is the southern end of the property where there's a existing entrance to a house. And then there's 2 sheds here and then a shed closer to the water. And as you go along Ferry Road, you can see those 2 large storage sheds. You get to the marina office, which is here. And then this is the main entrance down into the marina, kind of splits the middle of the property. And then the next is the restaurant building here. Used to be the back porch, a few iterations before that. And then finally, there is what I call the office building, because it was a number of marine type offices over the years. There's an existing deck right here where there's parking, where you have to kind of walk over a bridge between the slope and where the parking is. And then further to the north, there's a paved excess parking area, okay? So that's the east side. I'll flip it around to the west side of the road. Once you get past the condos, this is 163 Ferry Road, which includes 2 buildings and overflow parking area and boat storage for the marina property in the back. This is the zone line splits the property down the middle, or the road down the middle. So Residence A is on the west side here, and Marine Industrial is on the east side toward the river for these properties. What we're asking the commission for is, keep my fingers moving here, establishing a marine redevelopment zone, MRD. This is the regulation that we've proposed, and I'm just gonna kind of go through it fairly big picture, and then we can dive into some questions and comments. And I received some questions and comments even just today from Matt and Chris, so most of which are not a problem. So obviously the purpose and intent is to encourage the redevelopment of waterfront and marina related properties and uses. The zoning regulations can be very challenging when you apply them strictly against those type of properties, just because of the nature of the use, where they're located, the proximity to river, obviously in this instance, the river, tidal wetlands and things like that. So the purpose and intent, applicability is again fairly limited to properties containing existing marine uses, boatyards, water dependent commercial front commercial facilities. Okay, talks about the overlay with the underlying zoning district and having the MRD overlay provisions apply. So those are kind of general principles. Then we start to get into some of the nuts and bolts. So the way overlay zones are handled in Old Saybrook, like your PRD, which is another overlay zone, early on in the regulation, there's a identification of which properties fall under the overlay zone. So in this instance, we've identified the 2 properties that we're seeking approval for, which is 142 Ferry Road, the property on the east side that abuts the river, and 163 Ferry Road, the property on the west side that has the overflow parking, boat storage, office building, and residential building. So those are the 2 properties that ultimately we'll be asking the commission to overlay. And what does that process look like? Generally, there's a petition to amend the zoning map to the zoning commission to overlay this new zone onto those properties. So when an application for the overlay comes in, it's usually a 2-part process. First, you get the map amended and the parcels identified. And second, you come in with a full engineered site development plan. The zoning commission has, as Attorney Willis will tell you, legislative discretion, number 1, in implementing whether they want to even consider and implement this new regulation. And then number 2, deciding which properties it's going to go over. And when you have legislative discretion, that means you can say yes or no, and it's extraordinarily difficult to challenge that, if not impossible. Nothing's probably impossible, but it's very difficult. You have the highest level of discretion in deciding we want it on this property, but we don't want it on this property. That's completely your discretion. So by allowing this text to go through is only part one. You then need to identify which properties in part two, and even in the future, if somebody comes and says, I want to take advantage of that, you have kind of yes or no discretion over whether that is applicable. If the commission approves an overlay zone, just like the PRD, and identifies a property to overlay it, then the applicant has to come in with a full application for approvals, zoning approvals of the uses, the structures, the improvements that are being proposed. And this is one of the things we talked about today, which is right now it's some things are allowed in the MI by site plan and some things are allowed in the by special exception. And the feedback we got was under the overlay, let's just make everything special exception, which we're fine with. So no, there would be no use that's not a special exception use. So this will be revised, this first part of 57.5. But in making a special exception application, the applicant would need to provide all the information and documentation that's under both the site plan section 51 and the special exception section 52. 57.5.2 is a ability for an applicant to come in and say, look, I've already done all the work, I've dotted all the i's, I've crossed all the t's. I want to overlay the map on a property and I want the special exception at the same time. It gives the applicant the ability to do that. That's to be frank, it's a little bit of a risk and a gamble for an applicant to do that, because without the map overlay, they don't even know if what they're proposing could be approved. So if they spent all that effort to get it engineered and fully ironed out, that would be, you know, that's a risk. But this gives somebody the option to do that. So that's the purpose of that 57.5.2, the simultaneous application. So do you have any questions so far before we kind of dive into the next thing, which is standards?
The property that was on the west side, 163, does
Yeah.
it include, you said this at the last meeting, but I just want to clarify, is the house included on that property?
Yes, sir.
It is, right?
There's two buildings, flip around here. You're not looking at my screen, but give me a second. And Walker can correct me if I'm wrong. So this is 163. This house is included, correct? Or is that the
That's
next
actually
one?
147.
All right,
163 is the one to the north of the parking lot with the gambrel roof.
okay. Yeah, but that's both these houses are on that property.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah, so this is one parcel of land that includes this house, all the parking, this is the overflow parking for the marina. And then it includes a second house, which is kind of an office and residence in here, correct? Right. And then the property goes further into the back with boat storage beyond the fence. So that's 163.
Okay, thank you.
On the east side,
Mhm.
is the little gold house included?
The little house is on the property, that's correct.
We've got a celebrity guest here.
Right,
From
right,
the
yeah.
occupant of that house right here.
I told him to cover his ears tonight. So yeah, this house is part of the 142 Ferry Road, which is the totality of the parcel on the east side. This house is on the south east corner of that property. Any other questions on that process?
I have a question. In my experience, and maybe it's different here, but usually we would designate the overlay zone. Usually we wouldn't be so limiting in specifying the exact properties where the overlay zone designated if there are other properties where we might want to consider the overlay zone. Because the whole purpose of landing the overlay is to then decide where we want it to be as
Yeah.
long as there are certain parameters met. So I'm just thinking, has that been discussed internally, like with Chris, in terms of, do we want to have or do we as a commission want to have leave it a little more open-ended in case are there other properties in the MI zone where we might want to consider this? Like, has that been talked about at all? Or are you guys just like, we only care about this?
Yeah, the short answer is we only care about this property. The inclusion of those two properties in the list was potentially a little premature. It's an interesting process question. But you know, we're doing it just for full disclosure at this point in time. So I don't know if when we originally come in for the text amendment application to establish this zone, because that's what comes first. I don't know that those properties can be included on that until we come in with a map amendment
Right.
to include these properties. Now, we could do it kind of all at once, but there's a there's a bit of a presumption on part, and it frankly was for transparency, if nothing else at this point. So I think the answer to your question is the regulation provides the open-endedness, because you can pick whatever properties you want to
Right.
include in this. But your PRD, just using that as a guide, has, this is where a PRD is, this is where a PRD is, this is where a PRD is. We don't need to do that in the regulation, but it's kind of helpful for people who are trying to figure out how to get something accomplished in Old Saybrook. So that's why I included it in there.
Yeah, I mean, usually I've seen like, okay, it's gonna be designated in this general area, but you have to have maybe this minimum lot size or this minimum frontage or meet these other conditions to be potentially eligible to land the overlay, or you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah,
And so I'm just wondering, I mean, maybe that's not as much a question for you as it is for like Chris Costa and other zoning
Yeah.
commissioners, how we want to approach that, but I like to think of it from like a cohesive zoning perspective instead of just, you know, I know you have your specific interests, but for our purposes, like, could there be other properties we can think of where it might wanna have the option of this? And without having to go through like another text amendment and add in those specific
yeah,
numbers and
yeah, we can talk to Chris about that and see if there's a
Okay.
property that kind of easily apply.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the applicability section has like, it's gotta have a marina,
Right, so that's, right,
right? So there are some limiting factors.
Yeah.
Marina, boatyard, water dependent commercial facility, you know, that kind of thing. So. Any other questions before I dive into standards?
Attorney Casilla, I noticed that your draft was dated. Is it Friday? Does everyone have a copy of that?
I don't know, I emailed it, but I didn't bring copies, so,
Okay, all right,
but we'll just,
march on.
yeah, we'll keep going. Give me a moment here. Okay, then the next section we have are the standards. And the first standard is the uses. Now, when an overlay zone applies, the underlying zoning is already in effect. So all the MI district regulation on the parcel to the east is in effect, and all the Residence A district on the parcel to the west is in effect. So really what we did here was say, all right, what are the uses that could be applicable that aren't included already in those? And part of the codification here was trying to put what is already approved by variance on 163 Ferry Road. So storage of boats, offsite parking, business and office, retail store, kind of the big uses. And then one of the realities of this property is offsite stormwater and sewage disposal facilities are going to need to be on 163. And then kind of threw in a general accessory uses customary with other uses in the MRD. For something, as a catch-all, if something comes up in the future. So those, those are kind of the uses that we thought would, be necessary. Particularly on the residential side, which aren't allowed in the residential zone, but would be allowed if the overlay was imposed onto that property. Now we get into the other standards, and the philosophy here was, and we have a development team that has been working on developing this property for 2+ years. And so we've had a lot of conversation, we've had a lot of concepts, we've had a lot of back and forth. And including strategizing about which direction we're going in from a zoning perspective. And we've tried to come up with objective standards. And it is very challenging for these type of properties. And for this property in particular, we kind of already took a look at the property, but when you look at what's going on here, there are a number of nonconformities. And the overall goal is to reduce those nonconformities. The question is, how do we best accomplish that? So, for example, you start here and you have a residential house that's within 2 feet of the front yard, the boundary line. Residential is prohibited in this zone, and obviously 2 feet doesn't meet the existing setback. And then you have sheds, which are here, that also this shed comes within the front setback. And we talked about the slope before at the last meeting, that the road elevation is 21, 22, and it goes down to like 7. And then it slopes down to 3.5 at the water. So there's no front yard setback here, right? There's a fence with a cliff. And there's no landscaping or anything like that. So there's some nonconformities. When you get to the marina office building, you have kind of an undefined parking lot. Without any landscaping, it's just been developed. There's dumpsters sitting out front. Non-conforming with a number of the zoning regulations. As you come down, you get a little bit of landscaping. And then you get into the restaurant building. The restaurant building right now is 54.1 feet in height, and that's calculated from a gateway perspective. The next building, the office building, is 54.5 feet in height. So there's substantial nonconformities. You have, again, you start to see the cliff again, because here, the cliff goes down and this is all parking that's underneath the deck. Here, you can see kind of the deck, and then this is all parking. There's a bridge, and then again, you have kind of a bridge to another structure with parking. And then finally, as we reach the northern portion of the property, you have kind of a nondescript additional parking area. Finally, there is a pathway down here to get to the other side of that basin. So, we have a number of nonconformities on the property. And, we can't, there's not a lot of flexibility in this site. Go to the overlay now to demonstrate the next. See if I can figure this out. So this is the existing condition map. So we started up by the street, and you can see the house with the sheds. The red is the front lot line. Here's the sheds. Here's the shed closest to the water, restaurant building, office building. This is the drive over parking and then that lot. So it's hard to go one for one with reductions in nonconformity because, for example, getting rid of the house, we're not gonna put another house up there. But they would like to be able to recoup building in additional areas. The height, the proposal is to come down, not be compliant because the slope and then kind of the small area that's in between the toe of the slope and the water, they want to be able to continue to operate in this location. So the proposal is, just to try to clean it up and, not only make it better from a zoning perspective, but obviously better from a safety perspective, better from a use perspective, better from a visual perspective, and, better from a streetscape perspective. So, the office building here the height is proposed to be like 47 feet, 48 feet. So that's down from 54, but it still exceeds. Interestingly, 47, 48 feet is 25 feet above the street grade. So when you're on Ferry Road, it's a 25-foot high building. Yes, when you slope down to elevation 3.7, which is the lowest part of some of this property, that the height goes up. The proposed restaurant building, same thing, 45, 46, somewhere in there. What Walker would like is to be able to extend the roof of the shed a little bit higher. Currently, it's like 36, 37 feet. Get a little more room in that because what they do is they stack boats. And he can describe this better than I can, but I've heard this a few times. It used to be stacking cigarette boats, which are not very high. And now it's stacking center consoles, which are high. So, part of it is trying to request a little bit of give and take. Like, we're willing to do all this work. We're willing to clean it up. It's going to be beautiful, but there has to be a cost benefit to them. And part of that is hard. This is why when we talk about regulations, we're like, all right, should we ask for just a 50-foot height max? But that's probably a big ask for the commission when 35 is the requirement. Interestingly, in industrial, that's what the height requirement is, 50 feet. So it's not uncalled for completely, but Gateway wouldn't want a 50-foot. But if there's some sort of way, and again, we've tried to figure out an objective way to say, all right, we have this many nonconformities, and now we're just asking for these buildings here, which are, less. But that's a very challenging thing to do from a regulatory perspective. So what we have a couple of ideas, and again, this is kind of the main reason, and this applies to everything, right? Height, setback, front landscaped area, parking lot landscaping, tidal wetland setback, signs, they're all problems. There's all problems. If you put a sign 10 feet back, it's down a hill. The people who just built a medical office on Spencer Plains had to go get a variance because they had the same, the Spencer Plains, like right near the highway, it goes boom, down. So we try to predict some of these things in the regulation with the language. But we know height is going to be probably the biggest, question, especially with Gateway. So the language that we kind of came up with language that basically says,
You zoom in on that a little bit, Ed, right?
yes,
Sorry.
sure. Oops. I'll zoom. I can make bigger if that's gonna be bigger.
You can make it bigger just for that, we'll zoom in more at the end. There we go. That's helpful.
Thank you. Wasn't the only one struggling? Just me. All right, good.
Maximum building and structure height must meet underlying zoning requirements, except the zoning commission may, by special exception, allow for building to have increased height within the MRD zone, provided the commission finds the proposed development results in reductions of existing nonconformities in other areas of the development, including setbacks, height, lot coverage, you know, we could throw in more there, but, you know, that's kind of the general concept that we're asking for in this redevelopment zone. Nobody's starting from scratch with this. It's all redevelopment, so you're taking something that's already there, you're making it better. But the ultimate discretion of that comes down to the commission. Now, that's good and it's not good, you know. Right now, we have buildings of 54, 51, 49. From a height perspective, we'd be okay with an objective number. But it's gotta be, you know, at least 46, 47, 48 is the number that we would want. And remember, 47 is 25 feet above the road. So it's not an outrageous ask. So that's one of the big questions is, do we try to stick with something like this, where you have a lot of discretion, or come up with an objective number or an objective standard that can be applied? You know, we could parcel it out and say, if you're not in a flood zone, or if you're on the west side of Ferry Road, 35, period. You know, but only for the waterfront parcels, then you can get extra, where you can demonstrate there are reductions in nonconformity.
Yeah, because you don't want a 50-foot building on the other side.
No. Yeah. So that's, you know, this is the challenge of this property in this, and that's kind of one of the big things we wanted to hear from the commission is, look, we can come in and say, we want setbacks of, you know, 10 feet. And we want no landscaping buffer. And we want height of 47 or 50 feet or whatever the number is. Would you prefer that? And we're not holding you to any of this. This is an informal discussion. Or would you prefer something more, you know it when you see it kind of language like this is? So
It seems to me that the effect of the 50-foot building starting from a hole is not so bad. Because your effective height is from the street level.
based
There's not
upon,
the regulations, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it meets that requirement. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but.
I'm wondering to that point, if could we say something along the lines of like kind of a little of both, where it's like you use this concept, but then it's like, under no circumstances shall the height exceed X, like measured from the street or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, at least there's some parameter in there, but the commission still has this, right? Because I think that's the big point, that from the street, it's.
That's maybe why you keep back to the original development concept, you keep it for these two properties.
Right. Right. But if you say that it can't be above 30 from the street, then that kind of takes care of that issue anyhow.
yeah,
Because then they get like their 50 or whatever, but it's still not more than. So on a flat piece of land that's level with the road, you would just have your normal like 25 or 30 or whatever.
That would have to probably be. To make it in the street to get us to
The
30.
definition is from this to ground level, which.
Right, but could we say like, you can go up to 50. But under no circumstances can it be higher than 30 feet as measured from. The highest elevation on the property or something like that, like could we tweak the way we measure it in. This zone a little bit.
Doesn't sound objective,
That's,
objectionable that way.
Yeah,
it's up to you guys how you wanna paint the picture. That's what it
yeah,
comes down
this
to.
is the type of feedback that we're looking for. And this will go to Gateway. And Gateway will be looking at it from the other side,
right.
so,
Well, and maybe they
Right.
would feel better
And
too.
there's a
if
couple
it
other
was-
properties, north and south of there, that. Might want to jump onto this and say, maybe you might apply, maybe, so how does it fit with that, your other point?
Well, I think if it was another property that was sloped down, would we treat it basically the same as we're treating them?
That's the question.
Right. I mean, I can't see why we wouldn't if they met the same criteria, underlying criteria.
Think about that a little.
Like if it were a existing, you know, if we're talking about like a boatyard, a marine, like they're talking about these uses. It was sloped, I mean, I guess I'd want to go, like you said, go scope it out a little more, do adjacent properties, but.
With this property, it seems pretty straightforward. There's a big drop,
Right.
but we have to think about the others. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, have you looked at? To help us along, have you looked at other marinas? That might wanna include this in their,
Well, I know like recently you guys were dealing with, I think, Safe Harbor that bought, Oakleaf. And, you know, part of the regulatory struggle here is parking lot landscaping. And so we included a similar section for that, because like, we have parking that's under, a platform, so we can't have landscaping under there, right? And then from a operational perspective, it's pretty limited on the waterfront side where the buildings are. So when you're trying to move boats and all, you know, bring things around and get them stored and.
store boats on trailers.
Yeah, having landscaping is just gonna get kind of tossed around and destroyed.
And just for anyone who's not familiar with marina operations, is the typical machine that we move boats around the marina is a travel lift, which is about 24 feet wide, two big slings, you can pick up 50-foot boats, but all of your turn radius and all that doesn't sort of jive with what, you know, you could look at a normal 24-foot wide two-way, you know, driving, you know, access. So, you know, we want it to be landscaped as much as anyone else, and that we can have it appealing to our customers and drawing families and making a destination on the river. But I think more than likely, if there were no regulatory elements regarding landscaping, we would probably be doing that by portable planting pots and things that we could place seasonally with our forklift, and because we want the place to be beautiful. And we don't want it to be an asphalt parking lot with nothing else, but we also need to have the operational reality of what we've got to use the site for. So I think it's a challenge, but I think this is a way to help that.
Yeah, and what we kind of envisioned was, all right, calculate how much landscaping you would need and then make sure you have it somewhere else. Because like we have the ability across the street to add landscaping.
And that's where people see it, people will see.
Right. Right. So it's, you know, that's kind of the way the tenor of the regulation is. Another interesting concept is parking. Like, so what we're doing here is obviously building a facility. It's like a shopping center. Where hopefully people are gonna come and do multiple things, right? They're gonna go to their boat, they're gonna go to the restaurant. So like stacking all of the uses provides an exorbitant number of parking spaces, 480 or something like that, I forget. Like a lot of parking spaces, which frankly, we can probably accommodate, especially using the property across the street. But, you know, by giving credit for, you know, joint parking, trying to figure out, you know, we'll have a traffic engineer who can provide us an estimate for, you know, demand. When you have a facility that has a restaurant and has retail and things like that, so we'd be able to come to the commission with like, here's our suggestion as to parking, and this is why we're doing it. Instead of saying A plus B plus C plus D plus E equals X. This is what you need under the regs. Like, for example, your regulation requires 3/4 of a space per slip. Which is kind of on the high end of marinas. A lot of them are half, you know, just another regulations I've looked at. So, but do you really want to change it? Or just give yourselves flexibility for, you know, a marina where there's other amenities where people are gonna be able to park and use multiple things. Plus, you're gonna get people who are arriving from boat, arriving by bicycle, like I think Walker said last time, we've met with the, what is it? Marina Way, what's it?
Yeah,
Mariners Way. You know, so this part of our streetscape is we want it to become a destination.
And you get parking requirements for the retail aspect in the restaurants.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You know, setback, same thing. Right now, there's buildings pushed up against the road. The plan is to leave the office kind of building and the restaurant in similar location, peel the sheds back a little bit, but still because of the narrow nature of the site, they want them to be somewhat into the building front setback area. But in exchange, they're creating a streetscape, they're putting the parking in, they're doing all these things that's going to make it look nice. So that's the flexibility.
And I can also just chime in on that piece. Right now, what we refer to as our rack shed, which is the northernmost of the boat storage sheds. Just because the site evolved rather than being designed, we've got, a major operational, just with the building being, even with its non-conformity in the setback, we're still too choked up against the water to the point where all it takes is, so if you see, that image there. Right in front of that building, that tightest choke point against the water. We do all of our hauling and launching in that draw right there. All it takes is one customer parking in between that shed and the bulkhead, and we are completely jammed up. We can't move our machines past there. We can't get boats past. I mean, it almost brings the whole operation to a halt. If one person, sneaks in there at 5:30 in the morning to go fishing and takes their keys with them. It grinds us to a halt. So it's something we would, we need to alleviate space from the bulkhead. But obviously we're between a rock and a hard place with the setback from the road. So it's not just, we'd like to do more stuff. It's that there's already an operational risk there and a safety risk there. That if we could give a little bit more breathing room from the river, that opens up A, parking, and B, operational capabilities. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
There's other provisions like we talked about, setbacks, parking lot landscaping. I do think other marinas will benefit from the parking lot landscaping. I was explaining to them before the safe harbor folks, I'm talking about the islands present a challenge. Coming back here. Tidal wetlands. Right now, there's an exemption in your current tidal wetlands regulations in section 68 that allows actually for buildings and structures to be located within 50 feet. But it doesn't allow other improvements like filling and grading and driveways and things like that. So what we're asking for is, because it's tight, especially on the north side and the west side, north side and the south side, there's tidal wetlands on either side. That not only buildings and structures, which is allowed in section 68, but also filling, grading, excavation to be approved by the commission, again, all on a special exception level. So you have a lot of discretion in approving that.
And that one in particular with the south side, a big part of that was, fire and emergency access. Because right now, if you've ever been down the northernmost driveway, it's like Space Mountain. You come over the edge and you basically drop off a cliff. Next one's not a whole lot better. The one to the south is where we'd have the best opportunity to do a longer grade fire and police access, which makes sure that they've all got gate cards and all that. But that'd be a big safety element for us.
Okay, I have a question, or I don't know, maybe concern about that. So I get it. For this property, I get it. That being said, what's to prevent someone else from making the argument like, well, you let them do all this stuff in the tidal wetland, why can't the rest of us by special exception be considered to do all this stuff in the tidal wetland? And I don't think that, at least from my perspective, I don't necessarily want to open up all the tidal wetlands to those sorts of activities. Could it maybe be linked to where there is existing development or something along those lines? Because you're not exceeding your existing. I mean, it's not like you're going into an undisturbed tidal wetland and proposing to do something. So
No.
Could we maybe link it to like where there's existing development or something along those lines?
Yeah, we can look at that. I understand what that question is. Gotta look at how it's that the south side in particular is There's a building over there, there's the driveway into the house, and then there's storage that's kind of tucked up against the property line. So we have to look at the survey to see what it actually looks like over there. That would be okay. It wouldn't be within the tidal wetlands, because in order to do anything within the tidal wetlands, we would need a state permit. It's just within 50 feet from a tidal wetland.
Which is where we've already got stuff anyway. We've got the paint shed, we've got boat storage, there's the electrical transformer and all the infrastructure there, so it's cleaner, less intrusive use of anything.
And then I already talked about signs a little bit, but just a little bit of flexibility on the location of signs. Where you're allowed to eliminate or reduce the sign setback. If there's other reductions in nonconformities. Chris had me keep in dwelling units are prohibited in the MRD. If the property is in the marine industrial. And then this just goes through the approval process and. You know, the ability to time and stage, a lot of this is based upon other regulations that you have that give, these kind of things. Final findings. Any other comments or questions?
Would it be possible if you put back up the street view
Yeah,
of the buildings? Cause I'm just trying to picture the drop off where there is not a building.
yeah.
Sorry about my voice.
So this is the north side. This is what Walker was just talking about. This goes straight down toward the north side and is this, I can't really do better than this, I don't think, but so that's one of the ways in right now, which isn't very good. This is parking, again, like this will be completely eliminated. So you're gonna, there's a benefit right there. And then the main entrance,
And just for grids, that the peak ridge height that you're seeing right there is that 56, right?
Yes.
So that's what 56 looks like from the street.
right,
Right.
and what it looks like, you can, I don't have a picture from the river, but you can imagine what looks like from the river, because it's just a straight wall.
6 feet.
Yeah, from grade. The second driveway entrance is right over here, I'm getting there. That's this one, which is a little bit more gradual.
Still putting the bottom out of the trailer.
Yeah, that's pretty steep.
You know, it is, anytime, just for grids, anytime we're taking a 40-foot boat out of there on trailer, and it needs like a hauler truck, they can't. Yeah, they've got to back up to the river, get up to second gear before and hit it with speed. Usually the trail will bottom out across the top of that, and then they'll have to charge straight across in the parking lot to the west side of the road, where they turn around and then come back out. So it's suboptimal.
And then this is the south side. So you can see there is an existing curb cut, but it kind of just swings right to here. And then it comes down and it's fairly obvious where the wetlands, you know, the Phragmites start.
Yeah, those boats are bound up basically to the edge of the property line there. So the driveway that we were sort of proposing would go straight from here
Yeah.
through the side of that white boat.
Yeah.
Ish.
But right now, doing any kind of grading or improvement is not allowed under your regs.
Any question?
That helps.
Great.
So I'll just say from my perspective, I don't know if anybody else feels the same thing. Generally speaking, I think it's always nice to have some flexibility that can sort of look at specific conditions. For me, I also think it's nice to have like some specific parameters built in, so to feel a little bit forward thinking, yeah. Because otherwise I just think it can leave it open for, you know,
Yeah.
kind of us having to always.
One thing we didn't talk about, I just want to spend 2 minutes on it, was I had a provision in here. right now, height is measured from lowest existing grade. And one of the concepts they have is this property floods on a fairly regular basis because it's low, 3.7. If they elevate it, or to, DEP permits, all that. In the reg, I have a provision that says, look, if you elevate for coastal resiliency, you can get credit for the proposed grade or the future grade, instead of being always stuck with that existing grade, which is the way the reg reads. So if we're talking about, a ceiling of 50 feet, and they elevate this property 3 feet, it would essentially go down to 47. And that's, that's just the way the reg reads, but in my mind, it makes sense to be forward thinking and say, look, if folks are gonna elevate their properties, especially in marine districts like this, then you shouldn't be penalized by doing that from a building height perspective, so I put that in there.
That's great. Is there anything else?
Because of the properties, there are a lot of, the necessity for a lot of exceptions. But do you have a list of maybe the proposed reductions in nonconformities? You can see.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, so. Does the commission want us to come back for one more kind of discussion on a informal basis?
I think so.
Okay,
I think we need to think
Yeah.
about all the things you talked about a little bit as a group. And see how comfortable we are, see how far reaching it is.
Yeah.
And I'd like it, if you have a copy,
yeah,
I don't think any of us have a copy of what you've done so far.
I know Matt does, but that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably make, Chris had some comments today on it.
Yeah.
So I'll make a few of those little things and then we can send it around for everybody to look at. And then I don't know if we'll be here next meeting or when, but we'll come back.
I think it's important for us to think about how this affects the rest of the town.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, cause this property is historically been a great asset to the town, and I'd like to see it again. We're gonna be careful about
Sure.
what we approach, so,
Fully understood.
good. Okay,
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
okay. Next item on the agenda is Saybrook ice cream discussion. Zoning compliance and modifications. Just a minute.
That's how we do it.
Well,
All right, sorry, Rich.
see if we can get you up and compliant, how's that?
Yeah, it'd be very difficult.
Would you like to tell us what you've done relative to the list of items that Chris had sent you
Yes.
to work on?
Yeah, the stuff that was on the warning, the lettering that was on the warning, I got taken by that. And then I put a proposal to what to do about the parking area, about putting balance in.
So let's just see let's start from the beginning. At the last meeting, Chris sent you a list of 4 items to be addressed, which she was concerned about. The permanent wall sign to be installed by July 1st.
Right.
The awning sign was to be removed.
Yep.
The A-frame sign are strictly prohibited. And provide a proposal for how you plan to screen the truck. Trees and bollards or blocks or security for the I guess picnic area, I'll call it the seating area. So can you address those items?
Yeah, so what I, I thought I did, but I put a packet together. I wanted to put 4-inch ballards out front for concrete mafia box.
Which are both?
Well, I mean, when I originally was approved to do what I was to do, I had, I had put in there large, planter boxes, which I did do.
Mhm.
And they're filled with 3/4 inch stone, and I also, there's, an asphalt curbing there, and I also put, concrete tire stoppers. But I guess, I don't know if that wasn't sufficient enough is what I have there.
I think we talked about that at the last meeting, that
Yeah.
the plant, we didn't feel the planters were sufficient
Right,
for pedestrian safety.
yeah,
You were gonna look at, I remember you were gonna look at bollards, right?
right. I did, but you know, after doing some research myself, I think that the blocks are the safest thing you can put there.
Mafia blocks?
Yeah,
Of what size?
they're 2 foot by 2 foot by 6 feet long, and I think they weigh 3,500 pounds each.
Commission?
If you do the mafia blocks, how will people move between the seating area and their cars in the parking lot?
Well, What you're allowed, I think it's a 4 foot span between them that a car can't fit through, but people will be able to walk through. So yeah, it wouldn't be solid, you know.
How many would you put in?
It's a total of 8, they do that stretch.
8?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with that, I think that's okay.
But
You're not convinced?
no, I don't know what I think the bollards usually look nicer, but I don't know what our usual, what the reg says.
I don't think we have the regular bollards.
No, they're available, different sizes, configuration, I don't know all the details on, but I know you have 4 inch bollards in front of the building,
Yeah,
and then a lot of places use bigger, 6, even 8 inch bollards, but I'm just saying for the protection of that area, mafia blocks would probably suffice. And I agree, they probably don't look as nice.
Yeah.
Maybe,
well, I mean, I plan on dressing them up, because I spent the money for all those, the flower, pots that I have there now. So I was thought about putting them on top of, because I want it to look nice too. I mean, I don't know that if we look back at what the building, I have a shot of what stuff used to look like before and what I did in the past year. And I've had hundreds of people come in my store and say to me, thanks so much for doing the property to make it look as if it's been an eyesore all these years. So I think it's been an asset to the community, what I've been doing over there.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, thanks.
So the permanent wall sign,
Yeah, the permanent wall sign we have till July, but, when you're in business, sometimes you run into stuff you don't realize in trying to run an, ice cream place for 6 months out of the year, but your bills are 12 months out of the year. And I had applied to, do food there as well, which I'm, licensed for. I want to do a change to the sign, to add that we're gonna have a sub shop there as well as the ice cream. Cause I'm trying to create a way to keep it open year round. Which, there's a lot of, there's a lot of benefits to it, cause then you can keep your employees year round and all that stuff. Where now I rely on high school kids and college kids to do it because I don't have a year round job to offer anybody, which has worked out great for all the kids in the community. We have 12 kids that we employed last summer from Saybrook. And college kids and kids are getting their license, they need jobs and provided that. Yeah,
so the new sign that you're gonna propose, will you show the ARB?
yeah, it's the same size, we just put, and we shrunk it down and we put an emblem in it for the sub shop.
Okay. You could just submit that to them, let them approve it,
Yeah, I think.
Well, this one's illuminated, right?
Yeah,
So it's different from the previous approval, so you'll need to provide us with the lighting specs and all of that.
right,
So it would be a new application.
Right.
So I know what you sent me, but it would have the dimensions and you fill out their form and get that lighting.
okay, yeah, I can get Andrew to do all that.
Okay. And you've already removed the awning sign, right?
Pardon me?
The awning sign is removed.
Oh, yeah, that's been done, yeah.
The A-frame,
Yeah, I haven't had any out there since Mother's Day last year,
okay,
yeah.
and the bollards? Or the mafia blocks?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to install,
What else we got?
The trailer?
yeah. So I'm asking for a request to put a shed in the back of the building so I can have storage for all the equipment that you need to maintain the property. And then I could move the trailer out of there. I actually was building that trailer for an event trailer, but I've been using it for storage right now.
Okay,
And I understand the way it looked when it was painted red. It was horrible. I didn't like it myself, but I was so overwhelmed how busy we were last year that I didn't get around to it. So right now it doesn't stick out like it did. It blends with the building. I painted it the colors of the building. So it does blend into the landscape.
And that's gonna be 200 square feet, is that right?
What's
Is it
that?
200 square feet? Is that right?
What is it?
How big is the shed?
8 by 24.
Okay, so, yeah, just under.
Yes.
we need a sketch of where the shed's gonna be.
That's in
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
This one.
Yeah, and I went over that location with that and Chris.
for wetlands.
Okay. That's what I was wondering, because in the back, we got some restrictions.
And then the red trailer is gonna get removed permanently,
Yes,
and then,
it's not ready.
okay,
It's
right,
very
but it
black.
worked. Okay,
Was that the cute little truck?
no, there's another trailer.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
truck goes on the side by the seating area, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly from the previous.
it's amazing the attention that thing, that's,
How tall will the shed be? Ish,
well, I don't know what the gable end, but the walls at the 8 feet, I don't know what
okay.
the pitch, what it.
Oh,
See the- you see the sketch?
I saw this, but it doesn't show how. Oh,
No, that's, but it's way behind the building,
yeah, yeah.
so that's good. What else you got?
What else do we have?
There was a question about trees. Blocking.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I don't know if we can come up with a solution for that. There's one tree in particular that's next to Saybrook Seafood. That's uprooting the parking lot. I mean, so much that it's actually taking the curbing out. And something has to be done with it if it continues to grow. I have to do something with the parking area there and the curbing.
So I took a drive over there. I couldn't see, the tree looked really healthy. I can understand that it might be obstructing your sign, but I
No,
didn't see.
no, but that
any problem.
particular tree I'm talking about, so there's more than one part to what we're talking about. That particular tree is actually, the roots have grown so much out of the ground when it was ever planted, it wasn't planted deep enough. It's taken the curving out and it's up, it's starting to get into the access area in one of the parking places.
So where is that tree? Near the sidewalk? Or is
No.
it somewhere else?
No,
Cause
It's the one in front of the sign.
Good.
no, I'm talking
Oh,
about,
different one.
I'm talking about the one that's next to Saybrook Seafood.
Next to the building,
No, it's
No,
out
no.
front,
Like your front?
on the street.
yeah, it's on that map that I provided.
It's hard to see now.
This way.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah, it's
So it
circled,
was
right,
this one, right?
yeah. No, I'm talking about the one that's doing damage to the parking lot, is next to Saybrook Seafood.
Not this one.
Is it on your property or is it on their property?
No, it's actually on state property.
It's on the state, it's our,
Yeah.
okay.
So it must be along the road.
Yeah, it's right, it's
Yeah.
along the
You
road,
drive in that entrance, it's on the right.
yeah.
One of the street trees they were required to plant.
I didn't see anything
Pardon me?
wrong. I didn't see anything wrong with,
Well,
The root system.
if you go and look, the root systems, it's actually taking the curving and stuff out. I mean, it's as clear as day if you would go over and look at it,
I didn't notice that.
yeah.
Did you check also?
So typically, would the process be to propose replacement of the tree with a different species that's more parking lot friendly in theory?
Honestly, I think if that tree was planted correctly, it wouldn't have done, because the roots are right up on the grass itself. And then, like I said, it's actually taking the curving out and starting to pick up the entrance of coming in. And one parking place as well.
Well, at this point, we can't fix that.
No, I know,
can't
but I
fix-
have to fix it.
Right.
You know, I have a triple net lease and I'm responsible for the parking lot myself, so, I mean, eventually something has to be done with it.
I think what Casey said, it needs to be taken down and a new tree put in.
Yeah, is that
Or can the parking lot be repaired somehow to stop any trip hazards?
Yeah, well, yeah, I got a quote on that, it was like $4,500 to fix it, but that's not taking the tree out. I mean, the roots are literally, I guess, I wish I had better pictures for you guys to show you what's going on there, but something has to be done with it.
So what are you proposing to do?
Well, I mean, if the tree comes down, then it's not gonna be, the roots aren't gonna grow anymore, so. It can then come up with an alternative to put something else up there.
Don't we have a tree committee or a tree warden that would make that decision?
We have a
Take
tree
down
guide.
State, a tree in the state right away.
Why don't we?
Yeah, all those trees in the front, they're all in the state property,
Right.
right?
And they were required at the
I was
time of
gonna
the
say,
special
what?
exception permit.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how we got the state to agree to plant.
Well,
them.
that's what the state said to me, is like, I don't know how you got the agreement to plant trees on state property. But
That was at least 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact details.
Yeah,
But I guess the thing would be up to you to propose something different.
different kind of landscaping, because all those signs, if you're coming from town. Headed towards the beachway, you can't see the existing sign that's there, it blocks it 100%. You know,
But the tree wasn't supposed to be planted there in the first place?
No, it was part of the approval.
yeah, it was a part of approval that the town put in, but the state didn't say.
So it was proposed by the applicant and I don't know what happened, maybe the applicant just planted them without going to DOT, but they were
Yeah,
the street
that's
tree,
exact-
that's one space for every 40 feet that we require.
Right. But
So you
the
would
trees,
still-
but the trees are on state property.
But you still have to have a tree of some sort, but perhaps it could be moved onto the private property in the front landscaping area.
There's not enough
Not
area.
enough
Yeah,
room.
it's not.
Was there-
do it.
Can the sign be moved, or is that just?
Well, we talked
Or-
about that, but Chris mentioned that, well, you know, I mean, that sign's been there since the 70s. You know, and it would never get approved to put something, you know, that's why I'm here, so we can come up with a solution that fits for everybody. That I could still have the sign and what we can do with landscaping to, you know, or suggestions about the landscaping versus having the trees there. I mean, personally, I like the trees, you know, they're an issue.
I think the zoning regs require a tree. You
One
can't,
tree
like,
every 40 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
But-
can't just like take it down and
no,
not.
yeah, but I understand that completely, but those trees now are existing, they're on state property. They're,
But they were still part of your required, you still have to have one tree every 40 feet, so if you're gonna take one out of the
right,
state property, you have to find somewhere else to put it, and it
Right.
sounds like maybe there's not really room.
exactly, there's not enough room to do that.
That's why they're in the right of way.
Correct.
Or were proposed in the right of way and put in the right of way.
You know, you're proposing to take down the tree and take out the stump or just.
Yeah, that's what I would like to, well, that's why I reached out to the state, you know, specifically regarding about taking that tree down. And they don't have a problem with it,
The stump would come.
You're right.
On the driveway.
right?
When you get the state to approve them.
you get an encroachment permit from the state and say that you'll be responsible for the maintenance.
Hmm.
So if it falls down, that you take care of it, that's usually how it is unless there's some
Yeah,
other reason.
there's a permit that you gotta get, and I reached out to them. And they said that, you know, they would issue the permit to take it down.
But
Will
I'm saying
they
to
let
put
you-
it back up.
Right.
Mm,
Will they let you put a new tree in?
I didn't ask that
If you
question.
agree to do the
Take care of
maintenance.
it, yeah.
Okay.
So if it falls
Okay, so
down,
you
it's
get a
your
new equipment,
responsibility.
Yeah, okay.
So you wanna do that?
Well, yeah, but then, you know, there is the other thing about the other trees blocking the sign that's there, you can't see it when you're coming down the road.
What is the tree?
The other street trees.
The other three trees.
So several meetings ago, we talked about the issues with pretty much the trees in the right of way that were planted to meet the 40-foot requirement for street trees. And now for a variety of reasons, there's this proposal to take them down, which is against the regulation.
I didn't realize it was, I
Yeah,
thought it
we
was just this one tree that was a problem.
Mhm.
I don't think we can allow that, right? I mean, it's not permitted under the zone. We can't just like take them down because then it would.
I think you need to come up with a proposal,
Yeah.
maybe work on the other stuff, come up with a
Yeah, come up
proposal,
with a
talk
proposal,
to
something
DOT,
else to
something.
do. Yeah, because, you know, the state's position is they shouldn't be there. You know, there wasn't permission given to plant.
Yeah, you just have to come up with a proposal, run it by the state and then come back.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we can do that. So, I mean, if there's some guidelines, something, is there another alternative that we could come up with landscaping or something?
Well, we're still 40 feet.
It's the street tree requirement, you need something, I mean, you can't put anything really low line that's gonna block sight lines, so you're gonna need to talk to the DOT about what. You're gonna need to come up with a plan if you wanna replace all of these trees with something that they're gonna allow.
Mhm.
And talk to
Yeah,
them
but
about
so,
getting a
yeah,
permit.
but there's what they'll allow and then what you're allowing, so I need to get something in the middle to satisfy everybody.
Right, but you can get a permit from them if it's happened in other situations where you agree to the maintenance and they'll allow you to meet this requirement.
Right. But so then there's no solution for the signage.
I mean, unless you can find somewhere else to move the sign. That's, you know, you're not gonna get blocked by the tree, I don't,
Yeah, it's
kind of up to you to propose. The solution, I think, is where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, what is there a solution? I mean, the sign was basically grandfathered in since the 70s, and the trees came after.
I wonder if it would be less expensive to move the sign than to take down the trees.
Yes. It might be, I don't know, but then so where can I be allowed to move the sign to?
Well, why aren't street trees a problem with other?
Because this is a
businesses?
pre-existing non-conforming site where the landscaping, the sign doesn't meet the regulation. So there's a lot of things here that are grandfathered in.
Mhm.
So that's why it's not all fitting with the landscaping because the lot to today's standards is too small to fit, or it would have been a smaller building with less parking
And more landscape.
and more landscape.
I'm with you. I bet there's another place to put a small sign that would be conforming and avoid all the tree business.
You know, I'd be happy with that too. We can put something lower. That'd be you know, that you'd be able to see in, I don't know, the side of line or something, but.
Can you lower the sign on the existing structure?
I don't know, can we?
I mean, you could, as long as it doesn't block the sight line. I mean, it may give it a little more visibility.
Mm,
Yeah, because economics seem to be an issue, taking out 4 big trees is a lot.
Yes, I actually don't wanna do it, but I'm trying to come up with a solution for, that works for everybody, you know what I mean?
I think the best, well, not for me to design it, but it seems like the best approach and the simplest would be to work on a sign or location and something that we could live with, but avoid all this tree cutting.
Mm.
That's what it sounds like to me. You're gonna get somebody to design that.
Okay. So come up with another way to design the sign, is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. We can do that.
And everything else,
Seems to have been addressed.
I think we addressed everything else.
Yeah, bargain. Talked about it.
Oh, three additional parking places?
Yeah, because there's a blank space in front of the building.
Yeah.
And because I had the trailer there, we were taking away the parking place, but the trailer will get moved when the shed gets put in. And I was looking to get those extra parking places. They were using it for I think the loading area originally. So there's no reason to not have a few more parking places.
I think you're good.
Pardon me?
I think you're good.
Oh, good. Mhm. Pardon me?
Designed.
So, we're not 100% good, we need.
Right.
Yeah, I guess we
So-
have to.
Do we need a site plan revision application, or are we just?
So we're here today because Fenwick Ice Cream hasn't met the terms of their certificate of zoning compliance and special exception permit. And then as we move forward, there were different things that the owner wanted to change. So tonight it looks like we've agreed, and maybe we can just kind of mark those on the plan, because we got several different plans to the 8 Mafia blocks 4 feet apart. You're gonna apply to ARB for the new internally illuminated sign. We'll need a sign application for that. The shed is 8 by 24. We're gonna need permit for that. And then the trailer will be removed off of the site, and then we already have the location of the hot dog truck.
Right,
And then we can leave it, you can come back at a later date, once you have a proposal on either a smaller freestanding sign or something with the trees that would meet the regulations and work with DOT.
okay. All right,
In the picture that we have with sign open spaces, is there room for the mafia blocks to be there without encroaching on the sidewalk?
no, they're not.
There's bollards there already.
Yeah, the Mafia block's going over to the right where the
Right.
picnic tables are.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a good night, rest of your night.
Thank you.
Maybe that thing over here that we can use.
Into the hall,
to the left,
to the right.
Okay. Let's move on. Next on the agenda is 91 Sheffield, application for plan development district designation. 91 Sheffield Street, map 49 lot 2, Marine Industrial District. And connected to the gateway zone. And along with that is the application for special exception permit. We do need to have that. Same property, Marine Industrial District, the gateway zone.
So you have 2 applications.
Yep.
Opening both public hearings at the same time, and when you act, you would decide differently, but it's one open conversation on both applications.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Attorney Champsky.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Attorney Marjorie Shansky for 91 Sheffield LLC. I'm here with Mike Ott, our civil engineer. With Mr. and Mrs. Picard, the principals of the LLC. Abigail Adams, our landscape architect, is remote, I think, if you could please let her in. And Keith Nielsen, our marine engineer, is here as well. I think the business of the evening, in the first instance, is to say that we have an essentially clean report from Jeff Jacobson, which Mike Ott wants to discuss with you the details of. And while he's coming up to the podium, I want to say on the issue of the dead trees and the the utility of dead trees. It was a conversation I had with a planning commissioner. I suggested that I thought you had mentioned it previously, but it was one of the planning commission, and we took it under advisement at that time.
Okay, thank you.
So good evening, just for the record, I'm Mike Ott, I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with, Summer Hill Civil Engineers Land Surveyors in Madison. Abigail, oh, there she is.
I'm here. Good evening.
So, this should be really brief, I think, if you got, looks like you may have gotten, the consulting town engineer's letter, Jeff Jacobson's letter. So we worked with him over the past few days, late last week and today. And with Chris, and I think we've, as you can see, we've addressed all of the engineering comments. Jeff has left the language that he, had put in his original letter about floodplain management, just as a, to be of assistance that those issues need to be addressed down the road at the time when building permit applications are submitted. And I think the only remaining issue is in the landscape comments regarding the town's, the future walking path, public access walkway that the town may construct at some point in the future. So Jeff has suggested that maybe the applicant consider constructing it now. Because it would result in less disruption to residents who would probably be living in the homes at the time, possibly depending on when the town decides to construct it, but the applicant would like to not do that, not construct it now. We don't know when it will be built or for sure if it will be constructed. And at the time that the town is ready, we would stick to the same proposal that we talked about previously, that we would work out an easement with the town for where the path is to be constructed. And we would.
You mean you're gonna be proposing the easement now with the work to be done later?
It's just yeah, work to be done later for sure, yeah, which is how we understood it from the beginning, that the town may construct it at some point in the future. It could be 2 months from now, it could be 2 years from now, who knows?
But the easement you're gonna provide now.
The applicant would agree, of course, to.
I just wanna be clear, that's what was happening.
Yeah, the applicant would, of course, as we said last time, be willing to grant that easement. Work on the preparation of an easement map and easement documents with town council or land use council and with Chris, the town planner. So that the town could affect that walkway should they choose to at some point in the future. So I think, unless I'm missing something from that letter. Oh, I'm sorry. We are working on the revision of architectural drawings for Unit 3 that Jeff Jacobson still mentioned in his letter. And we are also preparing, it's in progress now. It wasn't one of Jeff Jacobson's comments, but it was a request of the fire chief that a turning movement analysis be provided for fire apparatus to get into the site, to get out of the site, or to get around the cul-de-sac. So that's in preparation now. Our traffic engineering consultant is doing that, but we don't have that ready for this evening. So for this evening, for the next meeting, we would hope to have that turning movement analysis complete and submitted prior to the meeting for review and the revision to the Unit 3 architectural drawings. And I think that might do it, unless I missed something in his letter today.
Unless you have questions for Ms. Adams or Mr. Nielsen or Mr. Ott or myself.
Oh, there was one tree, and Abigail knows about this. Jeff had mentioned, picked up that we still needed to remove the removal designation for one tree, and it was, as Jeff said in his letter, just an oversight, and Abigail is going to take care of that.
Yes, we missed that when we were making the revision. It's one that's just over our property line on the cemetery's property, and I forgot to pull that one off, or I missed that one when we were going back through.
I have a question on the entrance to the property. And I just wanted to be clear, because the last meeting you added 3 parking places, I believe,
3, yes,
and you moved, is there still a gate?
No,
no gates.
There's no gate,
gate is gone.
and it's just moved up. Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that.
Yeah, we moved it up significantly. The stone wall is still there and then stone masonry columns with no gates.
Okay,
Yeah.
and there was more to Jeff Jacobson's letter here about, more about practicality than about the 5-foot wide easement and the 5-foot wide path. Is it?
That's just a misunderstanding. It's not, it can't be a 5-foot wide easement. We will work out a suitable easement with the tenant.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I don't know, there's a lot of pros in here about how that was all gonna fit together, so.
Yeah, no, it's, like I said, I think I would suggest anyway, the thing to do is to work out that easement with the town and prepare those documents that we talked about. And that way, the town would participate in working out the easement, so the town would be happy with it. And it wouldn't be your commission. I would assume it would be the town planner, maybe the public works director and the consulting town engineer, probably, I would imagine.
And this would happen before the issuance of zoning compliance.
Right, it could be a condition of approval that
So we do that, flood
group of
compliance and all of this.
individuals
We just do it all
agree upon
together and-
the, yeah.
We do this a lot with other easements that an applicant grants to a municipality, sidewalk easements, drainage easements, rights to grade, things like that. It would get all worked out in the same manner.
Will really actually be 2 easements, which will be
I'm sorry, Mar, I can't hear you.
2 easements that'll be cross-related, because we will be able to draft the easement and implementation of our public access component, the one that comes up the driveway and down to the water and over to the left. I'm just correct. And then the 2 will marry together by their terms, but it's really 2 easement documents.
Look forward to seeing them.
And so that would include easements for the parking area too, right?
Be included.
For the pathway, that the town could potentially construct in the future. So there would be like a construction easement or something like that to give more latitude for the.
There'll be functional easements.
All right, so well, are we all done?
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I still have grave concerns about the eagle's nest. Since that is a threatened species. Walkways, any sort of disturbance within that area. We're not even talking building, but you're mentioning the possibility of putting in that walkway. Within 300 feet of an eagle's nest, you could spook those birds. And if there are chicks or eggs in that nest, they might abandon it. So I'm not comfortable with the development within 300 feet as recommended from that eagle's nest.
So the NDDB letter recommends activity, not within it. It doesn't preclude there being development on the site. And it restrains the time during which construction activity can take place. And the owner is committed to and has his own sort of ecological expert on the issue of the eagle specifically. So it will be integrated properly into whatever the schematics are of implementation and existence. And if there needs to be some additional temporary signage that says, shh, eagles mating or respect the eagles.
I would call construction an activity.
But so all those things that you're talking about, they're covered under the federal law
Mhm.
that governs this, and it has nothing to do with the town of Old Saybrook or this commission. So, and the applicant has already met with Connecticut DEP on the site. Connecticut DEP's been on the site more than once. Connecticut DEP's been in contact with Chris. And the bottom line is the applicant, you know, this happens on other projects. It happens with cell towers. It's happening actually on the Amtrak Bridge construction project that's going on. The applicant has to work under those federal laws with the Connecticut DEP. And that process has already started. I happen to be at one of those meetings where the DEP biologist was on site. So the town planner is aware of it. That's just gotta get worked out with the Connecticut DEP.
And they've laid forth in their letter the conditions for that, and you folks don't have a problem with it.
The ones that in the NDDB letter?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's, as you know, Matt, it's law, that's federal law, and I'm assuming it trickled down to the state DEP, and, you know, they're the agency that's administering it, so we have to follow those regulations.
Well, we just received this letter that was dated in 2025 today. Your previous letter from the
That the NDDB letter?
Connecticut Department of Energy, yeah, this is.
That's because it was part of the dock permit application, that's why it's dated a year ago.
And it's even more concerning that now the construction people have to look out for diamondback terrapins. And other species, the sturgeon, I didn't even know that was, endangered or something that it's federally and state listed as endangered. So I'm just concerned about the rezoning of this property in general from, the marine industrial district. It could be marine industrial, non-water dependent use. But with all the
park, what is it, Keith, 100 boats?
The issue is, what you're reading, I'm gonna guess that you may not have seen this before, this kind of thing.
we just got
No, I
this.
don't mean that, I mean in general and other applications. So what you're looking at, and Casey knows this, and Chris knows it, what you're looking at is standard practice. It happens all the time, when an applicant applies for a state or federal permit, just like Jeff Jacobson said in his letter, when an applicant applies for a state or federal permit, there's a requirement to submit a natural diversity database review request to DEP. There's not a requirement for this project or a project like this, because there's no state or federal funding involved. The dock permit, is a state permit, and that required, the dock permit required the submission of the request that generated that letter. What's come out of that letter comes out all the time when you work near the water. It could be an inland. I just did a culvert for a road inland, nowhere near the coast, where the same concerns came out. There's concerns for birds, there's concerns for turtles. We have to do inspections. Just like it says in there, there's standard guidelines for how to protect those species. That's nothing unusual. It happens, it's by the very nature of the location of the site in the landscape, that kind of letter is going to come out. You're on the water in a coastal environment, quite close to the water. The applicant is required to follow those recommendations. The project isn't prevented.
It's not a no
From
build
going forward, yeah, it doesn't stop a project. What the Connecticut DEP is saying is that the standard of practice is to do those things, like have a meeting on the site with a wetland scientist and or a biologist that shows the construction personnel what does, for instance, a diamondback terrapin turtle, what does the turtle look like? Where might the turtle nest? The kind of inspection you've got to do every morning before you start working. You've got to go in, you got to set up a silt fence barrier that they can't crush. You got to go in the barrier and inspect and make sure that you don't see them. you have to call the biologist to move them if you do see them. That's standard practice on all construction projects.
And it's not the,
The targets, that are set up in the DEP's resource mapping are.
Can you come up here and identify yourself?
Sure.
Taping this, so I want to make sure we hear you.
The targets that, the DEP utilizes on their resource maps are large radius circles. They don't indicate that there's, Diamondback terrapin on this site. They say that there is a possibility, based on other information, that the Diamondback terrapin might be here.
Right.
And that's why they don't, issue any kind of a rejection. They just say, if it's found, this is what you do.
Mhm.
And so it's a control procedure.
Okay, but on this site, it's pretty rare to have an active bald eagle nest. And that's my biggest concern. Bald eagles, like a lot of birds, mate for life, and they also return to that same nest. When this was written last March 2025, the bald eagles were setting up their nest and they came back, so they reused the same nests and rebuild them for the following year.
They told us that, the biologist told us that would happen, but the issue is, everything you're saying is true. And the biologist told us the same thing, but the crux of the issue is the way the state administers the federal regulations doesn't prevent the construction project. They put in place certain things that we have to do, and the applicant is bound to follow those. The applicant has to, I presume, be breaking the law, I suppose, if he did.
And you have to deal with deep in the feds.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
federal
it's
law.
not the
That's it.
jurisdiction of the
Yeah,
town.
everything you're saying is true and accurate, but it doesn't, it's not how it works. It's very similar to the issue with the turtle. The state government and the federal government have set standards for how these things are handled.
Mhm.
For all kinds of projects, when a town road is constructed, when a bridge is reconstructed, when the bridge was reconstructed on was a Great Hammock Road.
Right,
Exact same thing. That doesn't stop the project. It doesn't say go build a bridge someplace else. It says, this is what you should do to protect the species.
and also replacing the 1907 train bridge has to happen regardless of what's nesting there. Just for
Yeah.
human safety. There's a
Same thing.
peregrine falcon that lives under 95 that I've seen.
Oh.
That's transportation, those are critically important infrastructure. But these large houses within 300 feet of a bald eagle's nest is a choice that,
I think that the regulations go to the construction period, not people living there.
so then.
Yeah.
Tell me what, their nesting season is between January and August. When are you planning to do any of this work on this site?
We don't know yet, but like I said, the issue is the applicant has to follow the rules. They're not the town's rules. They're not the commission's rules. They're federal law that I presume the Connecticut DEP is administering. And the applicant has to follow those. Otherwise,
Right.
the applicant's in trouble. Right? Yeah, those recommendations do not go to when the development's all done and all construction equipment's gone and people are living there. Those regulations apply to the construction period, the construction activities to redevelop that site. Same thing with the bridge on Brigham Road.
You know, Laura, just it helps. I had the same concerns the first time I looked at this. Right in the middle of that map was the eagle's nest. But I've come to the realization that they have to follow federal regulations and it's their responsibility to take care of that. And that's, it's not ours. It's beyond ours. And, it's beyond our scope of, and your concern is right, but it's beyond the zoning commission's responsibilities. they have a serious responsibility with the state and federal government for that. So that's how I rationalize it in my head.
And there's timeframes in here when they cannot do work.
Right.
It's straightforward, February 1st to July 31st. So that's basically half of a year.
Yeah.
Where they can't work within that area.
Right,
And they realize that and they accept it and.
Yeah, the applicant's known that for quite some time. The Connecticut, the biologist from Connecticut, he made that clear, like almost as soon as he got involved, he made it clear to both Chris and to the applicant.
Well, my fear is that they won't return in 2027, because we will have allowed you to disrupt that site. And it's difficult for a pair of bald eagles to find an appropriate nesting site that they feel safe in. So when there starts to be a lot of human activity within 300 feet of a nest, they're gonna abandon it. And they might even leave their offspring behind.
Yeah, but so that's your opinion, but that's not the state, that's not the way the state does
It was
this.
on Connecticut, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection.
So again, we met.
CT.gov
Right.
/
Again, I'm not a biologist, I'm a civil engineer. We met with the state of Connecticut biologist who's been in contact with the town planner. This redevelopment project is allowed according to the Connecticut DEP. The Connecticut DEP has to administer the federal regulations. They don't seem to share the same concern that you do, otherwise it wouldn't be allowed. But it's allowed, we have to follow those regulations, and that's it in a nutshell. They're not the town's regulations, they're not in your zoning regs. We have to follow the federal law and the regulations that were formulated from those. And the Connecticut DEP is administering them.
they're not in the zoning regulations and they're not in the enabling legislation pursuant to which your zoning regulations are adopted. It's beyond your jurisdiction. I recently got some exotic greenhouses approved in Mansfield that on a site that was by characteristics eligible to harbor the southern bog lemming.
The what?
The southern bog lemming,
Oh.
which is a species of special concern or an endangered species. And we had to time our construction to honor their periods of high traffic. And I think we put up an additional wire, barrier so that they couldn't come onto the development site, and the development goes on. That is the reconciliation of the coexistence in nature of man and beast.
At least at this.
Jacobson references a section of our regs 36.2.1 C, I think is the part they're referring to, which does say that in considering a PDD, that we should, one of the commission shall consider, factors to be considered by the commission shall include protection of natural and historic resources, including but not limited to blah, 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 floodplains, ledge outcroppings, and wildlife habitats. So I'm just wondering if that's not.
It doesn't take you beyond your jurisdiction.
Right.
Okay.
The wildlife habitat within your jurisdiction are the things that the Wetlands Commission considers in its jurisdictional remit. It has to do primarily with obligate species for vernal pools and such. It's not a general wildlife prohibition or directive.
The state rules in the letter is a balance between property rights and preserving nature.
I agree.
And that's where we are.
Yeah, so my other question about the NDDB letter is just, does their jurisdiction or the scope of their review only apply to the dock because that's what requires permitting at the state level?
Mhm.
So would their restrictions not apply to the other construction activities?
Believe it or not, Casey, yes, but sometimes. And I've personally done this, even though an NDDB review request submitted to DEEP that generates that kind of letter is not required. There's been times when I've sent one in even though it's not required. In this case, as I said earlier, it's actually not required, but we're gonna follow those recommendations
Well, that's what
regardless.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
would you agree to those recommendations being a condition to the
Absolutely.
entire approval, like the same timeframes for construction and everything
Absolutely.
for the entire approval?
And if you think about it, I mean, it really makes sense if you
Right.
were to look at the plans again. We're back 100 feet from the tidal wetlands, with the exception of going in to demolish those buildings, restore it, regrade and revegetate, tree removal, and then building those paths. All that stuff has gotta happen in accordance with those regulations. And then once that work within the 100-foot zone is done, we're back 100 feet. We're all our activities back 100 feet. It still has to comply with those regulations, including the bald eagle
The timeframe.
guidelines and the timeframes and all that
Okay.
stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's right, Jeff's right to suggest, I've
Yeah,
done the
that's,
same thing,
yeah,
and I'm sure
Yeah,
you
that's what
probably
I-
have too.
that's,
Yeah,
that's,
so-
well, and that's what, if everybody can agree to that, that's.
yeah, it's not a big imposition, it literally means maybe putting up a little more silt fence than we're showing. Having the biologist out there, they literally, we hold a meeting, the biologist tells all the construction guys, this is what the Diamondback terrapin looks like. You know, seriously, and sometimes they put a picture on the job trailer, you know, this is what it looks like, and every morning before you start work, you gotta go walk around, you gotta make sure you don't see them. And if you do, call us, and we'll take care of that.
But as of now, nobody's seen one on the property.
No, and like Keith said, we call those. Casey, and Chris know this, we call those circles on the map like fuzzy gray circles or blobs. 'Cause they're, all they are is this big circle that covers this huge area, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't mean that that species is there. There's no studies done, it doesn't mean they're there, they could be, and they could be within the influence of the site too. But you really don't know.
Just one last thing. I'm Keith Nielsen with Sound Engineering, formerly DACA. Forgot to introduce myself.
One more thing that I highlighted, and this is from Attorney Shansky's summary. Per the Coastal Connecticut Management Act, the CCMA requires a zoning commission to approve, modify, condition, or deny the activity proposed in a coastal site plan on the basis of the criteria listed in 22A-106 to ensure that the potential adverse impacts of the proposed activity on both coastal resources and future water-dependent development activities are acceptable. To me, this is a potential adverse impact on a coastal resource.
I'm sorry, I missed the sort of end of that sentence.
That the development here near the bald eagle's nest is a potential adverse impact on coastal resources.
I'm not sure that the bald eagle qualifies as a coastal resource.
Well, the whole property does, because it was enticing enough for the bald eagles to build a nest there.
I'm sorry, can you explain coastal resources to the commissioner?
They're defined in the act. I don't have the act on.
So it's beaches, dunes, if you go to your section of the regulations, other resources, bluffs, escarpments. And so forth, so
Rocky
maybe
shorefronts.
an eagle may
Islands.
find it nice to live there, or a turtle, or whoever else, but you're really looking at it from the Coastal Management Act. And as a reminder, Monday, Deep is coming to teach everybody on coastal management.
There's a session
So,
coming up.
it'll be a good opportunity for us to brush up, but it doesn't have anything to do with the eagle habitat.
But this is woods on the coast, woods on the waterfront.
The coastal resources, of which there are about 16, are listed look at the coastal site plan application, they're
Tidal
listed there.
flats, there's tons of them.
Yeah,
We're not gonna, settle this time. In fact, we're gonna talk about spending, right?
yes,
So we have an opportunity still to talk.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's been so much discussion about how tight the plan had to be that it can't encroach on any of the water protected areas, and then the section under other birds says you have to keep 100-foot buffer from wetlands for temporary construction activity and path of travel. Is that an issue at all? Do you have the 100 feet?
Well, we have, like we've said, I said it just now earlier, and I've said it from the beginning. The only activity within 100 feet of the closest coastal resource, which in this case is tidal wetlands, is the demolition of those buildings, the restoration of that area, the planting plan of the landscape architects, and the construction of the 5-foot wide path.
Oh, so the houses aren't within 100 feet?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, let me state this for the record very clearly, and I know I did this before. There are no homes within 100 feet of tidal wetlands. There are no septic systems within 100 feet of tidal wetlands. There's no driveways, there's no roadway, there's no stormwater systems, there's no utilities within 100 feet of tidal wetlands.
Okay, and
Nothing, yeah.
then just secondly, it says large motorized boats should be excluded. Could you go back to deep and get a more, like a spec on that, and then how do you enforce it? Do you put like a restrictive covenant in the deed?
Large motor,
motorized
well, this is a
boats.
Keith question about large motorized boats. I don't.
That's the key question.
Yeah, that's a key question.
I'm not sure I understood.
The deep letter says, large motorized boats shall be excluded from wetlands to avoid flooding and capsizing nests by wave action. But I have no idea what a large motorized boat is, so I didn't know if you could go back to deep and just get a spec, you know, like boats over X feet long.
They won't give us a category like that.
And then how do you enforce it? You put it in the deed?
Well, the proposal is for relatively small motorboats on the order of 25 feet. And they don't qualify under large boats under any.
I don't know anything about boats.
Well, I know a little bit about them, and I mean, the deep sea, these are not large boats.
Can you put a not to exceed 25 feet in the dock permit or whatever it is, dock lease to the, I mean, do the people get a lease to the, if you buy a house, does it come with the dock, or do you have to lease the dock? Do you sign a separate document for the dock?
As I understand it, the rights of usage of the dock come with property, with the house.
So it would be in the deed.
Sure.
So then can you add not to exceed 25 feet? But I don't even feel comfortable saying
I'm not
25
a
feet.
expert builder, but I think when you have a very large boat and it hits bottom and you can't fit it in there, that's gonna be what a very large boat is. There's only
Very large boat.
not gonna be able to pull in there.
It's both by the character of the water there and by the character of the dock. That's not the objective, and that will not occur.
Okay.
It's not that kind of dock.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was out in deep water, it'd be a different story,
Yeah, if we were on the Long Island Sound or something. And it projected out and you had actual access to the sea. This is not that.
But aren't some boats shallow but large? Yeah,
I'm not voting.
yeah,
Yeah, some boats only
like cigarette
draw
boats?
like four inches, and you could put a motor on the back of that.
It just seems like it should be addressed somehow, since deep, it's a requirement from deep.
It's a recommendation from, those are recommendations.
And I wonder if it would be better if we leave it to deep in their dock permitting to create that, because it's going to be below mean high water and beyond your jurisdiction again.
Yeah.
But the.
Deep grants the permit on that. We don't grant that permit.
We're not ignoring any of the advice that's being given.
And if they do have a big boat, it's just gonna get stuck. That's what's gonna happen. It's not gonna make it to the dock. That's what's gonna happen.
I think honestly, if this group of houses got together and pooled their money and wanted to make that a usable dock, they'd have to spend quite a bit of money to get it dredged.
Right.
And they need deep's permission with it.
And there's a big permitting process involved with that as well, so. And then it would be okay. there would be a long way down the road, all right?
And Keith went through all that for you several meetings ago, yeah.
Right, I wrote a 5-page dissertation on what was feasible and what was not feasible for this site. And even our original permit documents, which were withdrawn at the DEP's request, pending the outcome of this process, showed 25-foot boats on the dock. There are some very special utility boats that would qualify as large boats and do have exceptionally shallow draft. Most of them are military. They're not something that you're going to see in this area.
Okay,
I have
Yes,
one,
sir.
I have
One more.
Do you have a question? I have one more question. This also falls under zoning 36.1.1. How do you anticipate that you will protect the water quality? Cause you can't, unless it's in the deed, like Robin mentioned, you can't get people to stop fertilizing their lawns and using pesticides and herbicides and all sorts of poisons. But it says here that you will, as part of the plan of conservation and development, that you will advance the efforts to protect water quality.
So we have, may not remember, but we talked about this quite a bit early on. Again, there's no hard construction within 100 feet of any tidal wetland resource. All the stormwater runoff from homes, the roofs, even though it doesn't have to be treated, and all the stormwater runoff from all pavement, the roadway and all driveways is collected, treated with a stormwater treatment structure, and then infiltrated into the ground. That's the standard of practice to protect
Thank you.
groundwater and surface waters from stormwater runoff generated from development.
I have one more question.
She said-
Sorry.
No.
It just, I just wanna make sure it gets addressed. You guys are all tied up for next. The question about the giant arborvitae. Yeah, that's what I had.
Sorry, yes, yes. Is that in relation to the size of the arborvitae that they can get at mature size related to the pathways? I just want to make sure I'm on the same
The
page.
issue was that they were going to be adjacent to the pathway and near the, is it house number 3?
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, three, concerned that they would get too big, basically.
Yes, so the beautiful thing about the green giant arborvitaes is that they make an incredibly beautiful screen and barrier, but they are also very adaptable to hedging. And these will be maintained hedges. So every year they can be trimmed so we can allow them to get to a certain height that creates the screening that we want to have. And then they can be topped and they also can be hedged. So they will be maintained so they will not overgrow the pathways.
And that maintenance will be part of the homeowners association responsibility?
Yeah.
Okay. And my last thing is the comment about the architectural plans, are we gonna get those with the proper measures?
We are, yeah, I said that
The
earlier.
proper scales, okay, sorry, no, I missed that.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
that's an outstanding item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else have comments? Anyone in the audience? Anyone online?
No.
So I think you need to allow us an extension.
Yes, I will send it to Chris tomorrow.
The 18th, the 18th at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make a motion to continue.
Yes.
You can make a motion to continue. Yeah, we'll make a motion to continue. Hold Both applications, 91 Sheffield Street for the Plan Development District designation and the application for special exception permit until May 18th.
The public hearing.
The public hearing, excuse me. Yep.
Yes.
Is there a second? Second by Robin, all in favor? Yeah. Motion is passed.
You're
Understand?
And we're gonna do it again. Anybody opposed? Motion passed 5-0.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, next on the agenda is Surratt application for a site plan for affordable housing, CGS 830G development with 6 residential units, 6,500 square feet constructed at 1745 Boston Post Road, map 45 lot 19, in the Gateway Business E4 District, Coastal Area Management Zone, pedestrian node, order applicant Surratt, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, builders. Action is open to public hearing this decision by 6/1/26, no later than 6/9. Mr. Patel,
Yeah.
I guess you're representing.
Yeah. Ed Casella representing, Wade Surratt of Surratt Builders and Sam Whitehouse, is that right?
Sam Whitus.
Whitus.
Dump engineering.
He's with Doan Engineering, application for property at 1745 Boston Post Road. This is a former Blue Crab restaurant, for those of you who remember that. The application is to tear, well, the building's already torn down, but to construct a 6-unit 8-30G multifamily for rental. Same as a plan here. The property is 26,000 square feet. It's fairly long and narrow. There's the existing septic system on the east side that was established for the restaurant, which has been tested and can be reused. And there's the proposed building is set back off the road.
I'm sorry, did you say that the health department has approved that reuse?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. One-way drive in with 11 parking spaces and sidewalk connection. This is part of the town where there's going to be a sidewalk along the Route 1 frontage. It's 6 total units, 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor, 2 on the third floor. 3 of them are 1-bedroom units with 725 square feet, and 3 of them are 2-bedroom units with 1,216 square feet. Since it's affordable, 2 of those units need to be affordable. 1 needs to be affordable to individuals making 60% of the median income, and 1 needs to be affordable to individuals making 80% of the median income. So the rent ranges for those right now are for the 60% units, whether it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, is about 1,000 to 1,250 a month, and for the 80% units, it's 1,400 to 1,800 per month. Part of the application, Vista, the property bounds on Vista Terrace, which is a road that comes up here. When the road was built, part of it encroached over onto this parcel of land. So part of the property is the owner is going to be conveying a triangle of 134 square feet to the town to make the travel way a little bit better. Couple of follow-up points. Applicant went to the architectural review board and they had 3 comments. First was to install arborvitaes at the rear of the property to block the rear of the building and the utilities that are in the rear. So those have been included on the plan. The second was to install a gate at the dumpster. That has been included on the plan here. So previously it was just a surround, but they asked for a front gate as well, which was done. And the third on the architecturals was to put a gable on the front portico. So those were the architectural review comments, all of which have been completed and addressed. So you can see the building from the front, from the sides with the entryway, the front entryway, and then the rear with the condensers that we talked about lining in the back. Jeff Jacobson had comments. I updated the affordability plan in part for his comments. I have one track changes. And then I do have other copies if folks want to see. But essentially, Jeff Jacobson's first point was on is that what we do in 830G application is you have the ability to kind of write your own zoning regulations. So Schedule E, which is at the back, second to last page. Jeff made the comment that yes, lot size, coverage, height, number of units, residential allowed setbacks, those are all in there. But there's a couple of other zoning regulations that weren't included, like the front landscape buffer, perimeter buffer, and interior parking lot landscaping. So we just updated the affordability plan to include those standards as well. He does note there's a provision in here that no standard or regulation may be imposed against the development unless it's necessary to protect a substantial public interest in health or safety. All of those are aesthetics, but we just included it for completeness of the application. The second comment he had was related to the layout, and him and Bob and Sam can talk about this more. Jeff questioned whether one-way parking, one way in and one way out with diagonal parking. I think the question was whether or not you should come in the other way from the east versus coming in from the west.
Yeah, so originally we looked at coming in from Route 1 on the east and exiting onto Vista Terrace. But because of the proximity to that being an exit to the stop sign, we decided it'd be better to make this the entrance and to exit onto Route 1. Jeff Jacobson's layout was to put the parking diagonally on the property boundary, kind of on the state right of way. But Bob and I felt that it was better where it is shown now because it makes access to the building easier instead of having to cross over the direction of traffic in the parking lot and its proximity to the sidewalk there. So
yeah, basically you can park, when you're parking right up next to the sidewalk, which is going into the building. So there's less pedestrian versus car potential interference.
Can you, can you repeat, what was the reason for not having the traffic going in the other direction though?
So
Like going in off of Route 1 and out?
yeah, well, one reason is it works better with the fire apparatus coming in this way to the parking lot.
There it is.
But the other reason is the proximity of the stop sign. There's a stop sign right here on Vista Terrace, but there will also be this sidewalk here. So if you come in on this side, turning and lining up without blocking traffic coming in is a little bit difficult, especially for larger vehicles.
I have a question about the fire apparatus, which I didn't understand. It appears to me that the fire apparatus, it's in orange, right?
Orange and green, yep.
Yeah. But the orange one, can enter on the street and he'll park in the back of the building near the fire hydrant. But how does a guy get into the front of the building? The green guy.
Coming eastbound.
So you cannot get there coming westbound.
They could,
I mean, he's coming from Westbrook then, right?
Yeah, this would be coming from Westbrook, this would be coming from Old Saybrook going this way. This is for the largest fire truck too. They have smaller fire trucks. So yeah, the largest fire apparatus would wrap around the building to the back and attack from the back. And this is also pretty close to a fire hydrant down the road. Green, you would just come in this way. And I could look into if they had to go against the flow of the parking lot in an emergency, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Following
the
the
only
direction.
question,
I'm
because
sure.
it appears that the fire truck has to go to the west side of the property, turn around, and come back to get in there. Sounds kind of cumbersome if you're trying to get to a fire.
Yeah, this is for the largest fire apparatus. So this is for their ladder, their tower ladder. They do have smaller fire trucks that could probably wrap around in here. I haven't looked into the smaller.
Is this something that's been reviewed by the fire
Yeah.
Yeah,
department?
he actually said it was okay.
Yeah, Old Saybrook Fire.
I just was questioning in my mind.
No, doing the math in your head, it doesn't
You need the-
turn right.
It's a big tall building and you need the biggest fire truck and he's gotta go to Westbrook and come back.
But is the orange truck the biggest one?
Yeah, the orange and the green size are,
Even if the orange one can come from the Saybrook side, why can't the green one?
they're coming from different directions. So if you had the largest fire, if you had a fire truck coming from this direction,
Yeah.
then it can pull right in. Or it could go to the back if it wanted to, but coming from this direction, it has to wrap around to the back, at least for the largest fire truck.
Don't they need the largest one to address the building height?
Sure.
Because the fire marshal's comment says the ground ladders that the fire department operates with is 135-foot ground ladder and 20. We purchased the 35-foot ladder on engine 2 due to the increase in hemofilms, but so don't they need the largest one to address that height building?
I'm not sure that'd be a question for the Old Saybrook Fire Department, but they did approve. Based on the plans, they didn't have any further.
Yeah, they requested this auto turn and we sent it to them. We received a response back. For 135, the 35-foot ground ladder. Let's look at the elevations. What's the height of the?
Coming out of first one, you got it.
Yeah, so the total height of the building is 36 feet to the peak. But to get to the top of, to get to the second floor, it's, somebody else should be doing this math besides the lawyer, but, it's 18 feet.
Can I help you?
20 feet. 20 feet to the bottom of the third floor. 28 feet to the top of the third floor.
Yeah. So I think that's the point, that's what,
Truck is okay.
Yeah, and the ladder is also on top of a, 8 foot tall fire truck.
yeah, so I think either the big one, the new 35-foot ladder, or the smaller ladders work for this, and then, again, that's why chief,
But they also have to angle it from wherever they're parking,
yeah,
so they lose height.
and this will be sprinklered,
Yes.
this will be
It will,
sprinklered.
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on public water, and it will be sprinklered, for what it's worth. Inside joke. So. Yeah,
The fire marshal approved it, I guess.
Yes.
He's the one that. should know.
Chief's
Fire
on
chief.
It just seemed a little awkward. That was. Can you clarify, because we got this latest map or drawing today. But don't tell me what the revisions are.
Yeah, so the only
It's
thing
the
that
general revisions, but I can't find them.
it's very minimal. We just switched out the number of arborvitae behind the building from 3 to 9, and made a straight line. We removed a tree near the storage sheds and the trees along the frontage.
The trees along the frontage were in the state right of way. There's no room on the property. Because the fire department requires one of the comments they had was they need to make sure there's enough room for their outrigging. So they require 16 feet there, so that brings it right to the property line. So there's no room on the front, for trees, and then the septic system is, you can see that the furthest row of the septic system is right up against the boundary line there. So ARB asked, as part of their comments, to increase the buffer here from the rear of the building with utilities from folks coming off of this terrace.
Okay, so the arborvitae and removal of vegetation along the front, those are the only changes?
Yeah, and there was another tree over here that we removed, and then,
Then we added the gate.
yeah, I added the gate to the dumpster today. The detail was on revision 3, I just depicted it on the site plan. And then I moved the construction entrances from all 3 pages to just the grading plan for ease of visuals.
A little hard to find those changes because they're not marked on the drawing.
Yeah,
Jeff Jacobson's third comment is that we provide a table with the height, size, common and botanical names for the vegetation, so I don't think that didn't make it on the plan, did it?
no,
So that we're fine with that would be a condition of approval. And hold on. The fire department, in the fire department's letter, there's 2 things that haven't been addressed that we agreed to. The first is, fire department will need keys and a Knox box. And the owner agrees to that. And, 3 things, I guess, that the owner provide final building plans and development as-built for their mobile data terminals. I guess you gotta provide that electronically. And the third is alarm panels properly labeled with maps and codes, and the alarm panel key be located in the Knox box. Those are things we all agree to, but just there wasn't a good place to put that on a plan. And then the final question or comment was, the commission has conditioned approvals on, sorry, I'm the language here. When you're dealing with affordable housing and maximum rental amounts, there was a condition previously that states affordability documents will be amended to clarify no additional charges for parking or other amenities in addition to the maximum rent allowed for the affordable housing. And we don't think that's an appropriate condition of approval. Attorney Willis and I talked about it briefly. Parking is a question, I'll grant you that, but storage, if storage, the owner can charge additional for storage than the maximum rental amount. I also think the owner can charge additional for parking than the maximum rental amount. The property's on a bus line. There are folks who rent that don't have cars. What we have here is we have 11 parking spaces for 6 units. So there is more than enough under the state statute that's required. But we do not want that as a condition of approval. Attorney Willis and I talked about it. He may take a little bit of a different position than that, but we need his approval on the affordability plan before any of this goes forward. So, I'm confident he and I can work it out, some sort of middle ground maybe.
We'll talk about it. I disagree with you about the parking. The storage, we'll talk about. We have things like that coming up on other hearings, so we're not gonna talk about it tonight.
Yeah.
But the Department of Housing has made it clear to me that parking isn't an extra.
It's an interesting question, because they're trying to say under zoning, you don't even need parking for residential units
Right, no,
anymore.
I understand.
Right, so there's like this interplay right now between the law and,
Soon there may be no parking.
right,
That's the difference.
exactly. So, but as a condition, it's very firm versus working it out in the affordability plan.
We
Which
can
is
make
going
the
to be a
affordability plan a condition of my review.
Yeah, that's, there's a standard condition that the final version of the affordability plan has to be approved by town council. At the, at the time of zoning compliance, so we agree with that.
So if there's a disagreement, it would come back to the
It
commission.
would have to, we can't move forward without filing the affordability plan.
Why, wait. If there's gonna be something agreed upon, why can't we just make it a condition of approval?
Because we don't know what that is right now.
So I think what they're asking is, do we let the attorneys hash out the details of the affordability plan, and if they can't agree, it comes back to the commission.
Well, I guess. I mean, I trust our attorney. But I guess I'd still like to understand what exactly that, maybe not exactly, but like what.
I think we have to get
That might
more
look like.
clarification. Is that a good?
Yeah, could we maybe have, or even if.
No,
like,
I'm saying
later
we-
you come back to us and say like, here's what we learned about it, or here's just so. we
Sure,
know
I can come
moving
back. I love
forward.
coming back to Old Saybrook.
Or even just so we know,
We'll be
like,
back
moving,
at our next meeting.
or even just so we know moving forward, like, this is how it applies, or like, this is what.
I can tell you there's no cases on it, so that I can tell you.
It's fairly subjective.
I can also tell you that affordable housing is supposed to be affordable. So-
There
Exactly,
you
that's,
go.
that's my concern is, if you're gonna live in Old Saybrook, you probably need to have a car. And I don't think that the intention of the statute, in my opinion, but I'm not an attorney. But I don't think the intention of the statute is to have these like workarounds for extra charges. I don't think that's what we're trying to.
I understand fully.
We don't wanna argue that.
Yeah.
I have just an aesthetic issue. The garbage can out by Route 1 seems, I mean, tell me how it's enclosed. I don't like the location of it because it's sort of like in the front of the building.
Yeah,
It'd be
so.
nice if we could, and there's no regulation that makes you wanna do that, but boy, it would be nice to put it somewhere else. You have your storage units kind of in the way of that though, I think, but tell me what you got going.
Right, so from my understanding, the architectural review board, it's gonna be black panel fencing. For the fence, and then it's gonna be a screen gate, according to our detail.
I saw the picture of the green.
Yeah, that's just the gate, it's just your standard black screen. Garbage gate. We looked into moving it. We originally wanted it, kind of behind the building, or near the storage, but. Just for access reasons, for the garbage trucks, it just didn't really work for them to pull in here to pick it up and, be able to reverse properly to turn around, so. When the garbage truck comes in, that's the pink box, it can pick up the dumpster back out and then turn back onto Main Street, it was getting too tight, the dumpster would have to be, way behind the building to the right, so that the garbage truck could come in and then back out onto Vista Terrace. And that just didn't work with the AC units, the generator, and the propane tanks.
And I assume the tenants are gonna put their garbage in there too,
Correct.
Yeah,
so that's not good, very good for them either, so. I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we've moved it around a lot. And that seems like the best spot for accessibility. And you also have to think that when it's hot during the summer, you don't want a dumpster right next to the building.
I agree.
So this gets it pretty much as far away as we can.
Would you think about putting arborvitae around it or something?
And moving it near the building.
Not moving it, just,
Well, this is part of the parking lot.
what about right here? Like right on the side of it,
Okay, I guess that's.
Do you mean?
Yeah.
Just tell us. For the record.
Yeah, my name is Wade Surratt, Surratt Builders LLC. To answer this question about the garbage, we've already talked, we discussed multiple areas to put this. I would plant anything around this, I don't really care. But the approval process from ARB was that black fence with a gate on it. I agree with you, I'd rather plant a few trees, cost me less. Alright, but do I have to go back to them to get that approval to?
No,
No.
No.
So if
These
you,
guys
I
have
mean,
final-
if you want trees around, I'll put trees around it. I have no problem.
I don't know what it
Saves me money.
was. To me, because of the location, I understand it, it's the most convenient place, it's good for a lot of things. But it's just near Route 1, it's not the kind of thing you wanna, even though it's gonna be enclosed. I would think arborvitae would be a nice addition, at least on the roadside.
It's cold. I love it. I'll do it.
And it's in a paved parking lot?
You could
We-
probably
we
need a
can- we can
landscape
cut the pavement.
chunk around it,
You
right?
cut the pavement, right up to the dumpster pad and make room for trees.
Like a berm.
Yeah, or even just between the dumpster and that parking space, there's no reason that has to be.
Between the
the other
dumpster and the
side.
parking
Like
space.
you could almost like make a little landscape.
I can't,
maybe
Just a big
even on the
berm
line.
but
Yeah.
that's the drainage, so.
Yeah,
Right.
for drainage.
No, not
reasons.
behind it.
May I just show you that? So what we could do is on the roadside here,
Yeah, the little.
is I can just cut the asphalt here
Yeah,
and have a spot where there's crushed stone, and then we have some arborvitae's here. Protect the dumpster from people seeing it.
I think that would be.
I don't need to fully enclose this on this side. Just because, well, it doesn't really matter, but then right here, it has to be paved. Cause this is my swale for my drainage, it's going through here,
Mhm.
so I can leave this, and then it gives them easier access. From the structure, where they're they walk down the sidewalk here, they can, they're not trying to open a gate, cause people get lazy. The garbage ends up on the outside, and then I end up cleaning it up. It gives them easier access to put the garbage in the dumpster. So maybe we just do it, I can put a few here. So,
I wasn't thinking of the inside, I'm just thinking of the outside from the street view.
no, I agree with you. So arborvitae on this, I guess would be south side here, and maybe I can put a couple here and then leave it so that they can actually access a dumpster freely. For the garbage.
So you're saying that in lieu of the fence?
No fence.
Okay.
Arborvitae on the south side.
Oh, okay.
And then here, I would just put a few more, and it's just so that they have back access, and then they have a little bit of side
You
access.
still gotta have the front gate.
Now you want a gate?
You got a gate already?
Here. I got you.
Huh?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. I didn't see any indication of where you're gonna put snow.
There's snow storage shown on the traffic plan, page 2 or 4. We have near the picnic tables, we have a large snow storage area, and then to the south of the dumpster, we have a secondary snow storage area. But snow can
I
be
stand corrected.
piled behind the sidewalks to the north, as long as the sidewalks remain clear. If we have a large snow event.
You good? Okay, thanks. Commissioners?
I have a question. So we're doing a dumpster enclosure and arborvitae? Or one or the other? I'm a little confused because we talked about screening the whole thing around with
I
arborvitae.
think we talked about arborvitae on the south side. Arborvitae, I guess, on the part of the north with a gate. And no fence in the back. I think we weren't talking about fencing the whole thing in. I think that was.
So you're just gonna put one piece of fence in the front, pretty much. That's, I'm just trying to get
I was
something
willing,
clear.
I was willing to leave the fence and everything in the gate and just put some arborvitae in front of it. That's all I was asking about.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want them to take down the whole fence, but whatever you
Yeah.
agree to.
I think we put the gates up.
Yep.
On the west side.
Yep.
And then we put the fence up on that south side with arborvitae's.
Yep.
And then leave the other sections out. That give people easy access from the units, the garbage in the dumpster. And then you get the screening for visual from the road. And then, I think it's the best, actually it's better
Okay. So it's gated in the front, so it's closed.
West and south,
Yep.
yeah, west and south, it will be gated. And then, arborvitae's on the south side to kind of hide the
That's
fence.
fine. That sounds good to me.
So when does the fence get open? People can access
So the
without
fence gets open just for the dumpster.
to be done.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Yeah,
the
quite
side
often
of
those
the,
things are really tight. You go in and you can't even put your freaking garbage in a dumpster because you gotta go on the side and there's raccoons and, you know.
Yeah,
At least this way, there'll be a way for this to all have a little flow. I mean, I understand that from a practical standpoint.
yeah.
but from a, like. My garbage comes and it's just automatic and picks it up. Somebody has to get out of the truck and open the gate.
Yeah, it would still provide a visual barrier on the front.
That's pretty much how they all are.
So-
It
So
keeps
the
it,
back of the dumpster won't have anything.
And that faces woods.
Yeah.
So people don't have to open the gate.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's just easier access for the people that are living in the structure. And visually, for all of us when we're driving by it, it looks nice.
no more questions?
I always have. Speaking of the trash, the, garbage pickup. The garbage truck. I can't really follow the turning radius that's shown, so does it can get in there without driving over the curb or anything?
Right, it comes in, picks it up, backs up, and then it swings out and then back onto the road.
Right, so just when it turns onto Vista Terrace before turning onto the property, it doesn't have to go over the curb there?
No,
'Cause I can't see that side, it kind of fades out, so I can't even see the time.
yep,
Okay. And you're adding one tree to the property?
no, 9 arborvitae in the back.
Well, I mean, besides the arborvitae. So like in the vicinity of the picnic tables and things, did you
Those are
consider any
revision.
additional
No,
shade trees or anything?
there's currently 3 trees,
Yeah. the
along
public-
Vista Terrace, yeah.
Are those to remain?
Yes.
Yeah,
And the area, so the area where the drainage is and the septic and everything, the leaching fields, those will just be grass? That,
That is correct.
correct.
okay, and there's no perimeter landscaping or anything other than behind the units?
Correct, other than grass.
And there's plantings around the perimeter of the building.
Like foundation planting.
There's, maybe I don't have that on sheet.
Yeah.
This is all. Since I did it with a plan. Yeah, so this is where it's green is lawn. Where it's yellow is crushed stone, and then all these dots are little plants that go around the structure. Crushed stone, where the picnic table is crushed stone. This tree, that I originally put in a plan, but since I'm putting all these in, this gets a little close to the structure if it gets bigger and bigger. So we just eliminated that. We're giving you all these trees back here.
You're taking out the one tree?
And the latest plan you received. That tree.
So we just got 2 new plan revisions.
Right, so the arborvitae are in the back,
That is correct.
and there are no other
These
additional
trees are
plantings
made.
on the property.
I'm sorry.
And there are no other additional plantings besides the foundation, like the.
Exactly, foundation
Exactly.
plantings, and then the arborvitae here, and now we're gonna put arborvitae here or similar species to hide that. Enclosure.
And those 3 existing trees on Vista Terrace are still gonna stay.
That's still there, yes. So we had to clean them up a little bit, but they're still there.
Yeah,
Do you anticipate that residents will use like the lawn where the leach field is and things?
I'm sorry.
Do you anticipate that residents will use the lawn, that's a big lawn area where like
I
the
would hope
leach
so.
field is?
It's a little high as you probably driven by there. It's
Yes,
that's where the septic is, but we're gonna clean it up. And it'll be lawn there, so, yeah, and we'll maintain that for, they'll have usage for, they have kids living there, or whatever, they can play out there.
All right, and my last question is, so. There's the information provided said there would be 2 to 4 residents expected per unit. Makes sense. Obviously, those might not all be adults, or they might not all be adults with cars. And I understand there's a minimum per state standards, but I also want to make sure that people safely have a place to, and realistically have a place to park who live there. So it's your representation that 11 parking spaces is enough for all of your residents and for visitors?
Yeah, and that can be controlled by lease. So that's what's required, is to basically say, when folks come here, you get 1 car. So if you wanna move here, and you have more than 1 car, this isn't a place for you.
1 car for your unit?
1 car for your unit.
Okay.
Most in the parking lot.
You wanna mark
The
parking spaces?
Is
It's not a requirement, no.
I think it's kind of hideous to see numbers in the ground, but I can do whatever is needed, but I don't think it's a requirement.
Just it might save some fighting. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what she's talking about. Not a requirement.
I can go on spray paint.
What's happened in a lot of communities now is.
Yeah.
People are going to look, if there isn't adequate parking, they're
Yeah.
looking for parking off site.
I
I
think
can
that's,
tell you that's happening. I don't think it's necessarily a good idea, but it's the reality. In Middletown, it's a big issue right now.
Right, but in Middletown, their off-site parking availability functions a little differently than. this property.
It's almost all taken up. So functionality wise, it's a problem everywhere.
Sure, but I mean, really, like, can they park on Vista Terrace, or it doesn't, no,
No.
right, so. Where else could someone park if they need, there's not,
This site was a restaurant before and it would have been the same issue then.
but it had a much bigger parking area then.
That went into the state right of way, and since the town is building sidewalks,
Right, but nonetheless, it did have, it's not really a fair comparison, I don't think.
yes, but you would still have. It wasn't a significant decrease in parking spaces. Even though. Just because of how you can move vehicles around on the site, even though they were cutting back, I think. 6 feet or 7 feet of pavement,
Yeah.
you could parallel park. Maybe 5 more cars there for the restaurant, or 6. But you would squeeze everything else. Yeah, it's not a big reduction in parking spaces compared to what the restaurant was.
I still think it's a little bit different for people that are trying to live somewhere than for people that are trying to go eat at a restaurant.
And again, when you move here, you know what the limitations are. So it's
You
not,
sign your lease, I guess.
it's not a surprise to anybody,
I understand.
you know, that's,
We're,
Not ideal.
I
no doubt.
think it's sort of. I mean, it's a, maybe perhaps, I understand what the staff says, but I think it's a little bit. Non-responsive to the needs of the residents that might be living there.
but again, those residents are living here with a full understanding of what the, you know, the opportunity is. So,
Where could they park?
No.
There's no place to park.
No public parking.
there's 11 parking spaces for 6 units.
And there's just no space to add anything extra.
No,
The town does have, they have the transit bus that
yeah,
goes by there. Which you said before,
yeah,
quite often. So I mean, I don't like it either. If I was looking for an apartment, I wouldn't like that either, but we're used to having 2 cars or something.
Yeah.
And so
And if
people,
people really don't like it and they don't wanna rent it,
they're not gonna
they're
rent it.
not gonna rent it.
That's, you know,
It's true.
there's a reason that they're you know. But again, it's a little foreign to us, houses, driveways, garages, but there's a lot of folks who, don't even need a car. Or have one car for a family, which six units, 11 spaces. You're gonna know what you have going into it.
Here's a consideration, what about putting in like bicycle storage?
Yeah, there are storage buildings. There is a storage, there are storage sheds here on the south side.
Oh, I wanted. Awesome.
Did that answer your question?
Right, that answers it.
One more quick question, this is general.
It's a very good idea.
Why does an old Saybrook allow underground parking? Is the water table too high?
There is a high water table on this
That'll be a
lot.
problem.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that and septic systems.
Okay. Yeah. Or how about, well, I know you already have your plans, but why don't more developers put parking at street level and then build up?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see that more and more. So
Then you'd be 4 stories high, and that might be beyond our ladder truck.
yeah.
You also have if you have cars under a building with structural supports, you have to account for someone accidentally hitting one of those.
Oh,
Liability.
okay.
Just back to a little bit back to the conversation earlier about part of the conversation we were having earlier. I just wanted to refresh, or if someone could tell me, in the affordability plan, when there is the reasonable monthly expenses built in, is that provided by the state, or where does that come from, and what does that include? Like, does that include parking and storage and things like
They
that?
have things, the state puts out a thing every year that tells you where you're gonna be in those percentages. And so what Attorney Casella has done is put the most recent one that's been published
So the last page,
on page,
the last one.
Yeah, 17 and 18.
17 and 18, and I'll go through these figures and make sure you're doing it accurately.
No, I'm just asking about step 9, determine reasonable monthly expenses.
Those don't include, there's a utility allowance schedule that the state publishes, and that's what that is. So how much are you paying for electricity, heat, water? I can't think of what the other things are, but,
Okay, so the state gives that number.
yeah,
It's on utilities only.
yeah, and it doesn't include anything for parking and storage.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Well done.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
There is a CAM application, let me just get this in for the record. There is a CAM application, the property's in the CAM zone, it's not in the flood zone. One of the benefits of this property, and, the stormwater system, will be capturing, the required amount of runoff for the building. So it's obviously a distance from Long Island Sound, and any, tidal wetlands are protected coastal resources, so there won't be any impact on coastal resources.
Okay. Is there anyone online that wants to comment on this application? No. Nobody there? Didn't wait, I guess everybody left. Nobody here? Cleared it all. All right, we ready to work on this one? Are we ready to deliberate?
So first, do you want to close the public hearing?
Yeah.
Yes, is there anything else you guys want to add?
I don't want to add anything, but just make sure there's no questions.
Right. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the Sarah application for site plan for affordable housing, 830G development of 6 residential units, at 1745 Boston Post Road, map 25, lot 19. There a second? Any comment? Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Motion is passed 500. Are we ready to deliberate on this? Did you write all the conditions down?
Well, not a second, formally do, but what I took out of this for potential conditions. Was the addressing the landscape comment in Jeff Jacobson's letter. That the applicant agrees to address the Old Saybrook Fire Department comments on knockbox keys, final plans, as-built, mobile data alarms, all the things we couldn't really put into the plans. The affordable housing plan will review to the satisfaction of any legal documents, our town attorney. The fence dumpster will be modified. So that there is no fence at the west and southern sides, and that there will be arborvitae and other plantings for screening.
This CAM application is.
And then the CAM would go into your motion because the application is consistent with all applicable coastal policies and makes all reasonable measures to mitigate adverse impacts if that's what your findings.
Correct. The fence would still be on the
West.
southeast and the southwest side. It would be the northeast
Southeast.
and northwest sides that would be removed.
Yeah,
Yeah. And south
Yeah.
and Saybrook.
All right, so we'll make a motion to approve the application for site plan for affordable housing 830G. Development of 6 residential units at 1745 Boston Post Road, map 25, lot 19. In the Gateway Business B4 District, the Coastal Area Management Zone pedestrian node. With the following conditions that were
Just read.
just read, is that fair?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Laura Gray. We ready? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
And opposed, no? Motion passes 500.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're,
Not the secretary, but everything like that.
all right. Very better position. Position is your drawing. Do you have any other reports?
Just a reminder, next Monday. On the 11th is the DEP is coming and they are gonna do a presentation on coastal site planning. So it's a refresher, so anyone in Old Saybrook is invited in person, staff and members of our commissions. And some of our neighboring towns will be. Zooming in.
Who's putting it up?
Braden Lynn, who's our coastal planner and very, very valuable.
Is it this one?
So it's in this room for our commission members and then staff, anyone else. And it qualifies for continuing ed elective credits, so that's something you all need to keep an eye on.
What time is it?
For
6 o'clock.
Can we watch it on Zoom?
Sure.
Okay.
I am working, we did get some text back from the region for the July 1st kind of adoption deadline. Through the statute 25. And a little bit got 25 House Bill 802. However, we're gonna do it, I started actually kind of putting into something we would draft versus the summary. So we're working on that. And to meet these deadlines, once I get that together, Matt and I need to sit down and go through it. And then the thought would be maybe we just have a special meeting to review it, so we can get it scheduled for public hearing, explain it to you. I don't know when that will be, it depends on when I get the draft done, but we gotta get this on the books by July 1.
There's a possibility that date might get pushed back.
There is, but.
We'll see what happens. We'll know by Wednesday. We're gonna know by Wednesday.
Don't give us any.
Well, I mean, it's
Gotta be done.
gotta be done one way or the other, so. Just pretend the bomb's ticking.
The bomb is ticking. The legislature is taking away more and more power of towns. I mean, it's just the fact of life.
These 830G applications are like,
Time bombs.
forget your regulations, right?
It's only gonna get
Well, the
worse.
parking's gonna get tougher for us.
There's gonna be like no parking.
This one here.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And this
But
issue-
I think if we see some of them present safety, the parking presents a safety issue, is that then parking can be considered?
Well, statute kind of reads in a different way. They talk about parking, assessments or,
Right, late fees and lieu.
No, it's a new, they came up with all these different terms. It's a
Okay.
that aren't. defined.
parking feasibility study, so someone could say, this is how it works, I think we need 50 spaces over here instead of 200.
Right.
And then there's a parking conservation zone, or I forget, transit, it has weird wording, so. Introduce you all to it shortly,
Yeah, it's not
it's not anything,
something that I think is positive for most communities. Maybe some that doesn't make a difference.
Right.
But. Yeah, parking's become a holy war.
Yeah, I thought 11 was too small, I didn't even think about visitors.
right,
Well, I mean, you wanna support affordable housing, of course, it's just tough when people are shoehorning things and that don't really work.
Well. I'll give you my opinion once this thing's turned off. I don't think I should say
now,
anything
not
right
going
now.
in. Good. Alright, so just, yeah, so your next meeting, we have our Max's Place, we have the agenda items continued from tonight. I think I might have scheduled your housekeeping and we have a 830GH application, which is an appeal from Hanford on our conditions.
Our beautiful big conditions.
Conditions. So, I think that'll keep us busy for a while. As soon as I can, I'll send out some possible dates for a special. And, as soon as Matt and I meet, at least we'll have the text ready to go, even if the law changes or even the law.
Pray to God.
Who knows
push it
what's
back.
Well, I mean, we're kind of towards the finish line, so it's almost. Why stop? I guess we can have that discussion when we get.
Motion to adjourn? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.